Chapter 50-40. There are underworld gods in this level of hell. They can cultivate, which means that they also have many cultivation treasures. I can snatch their treasures. Lin Ling's eyes emitted a cold light. In order to become stronger, he didn't care if he was evil or not. Then, he walked along the desert. After a long time, he finally met a god. It was a god from the underworld. Lin Ling didn't say much. He stopped him and said coldly, "Hand over your treasures." The other party was a high-level god and seemed to be from the underworld. After being stopped by Lin Ling, he was stunned. This was because Lin Ling wasn't wearing any clothes and had long hair. Most importantly, his cultivation was only at the early stage of a low-level god. Such a person actually wanted to rob him? Where did this idiot come from? Ha ha ha. The god couldn't help but laugh. Boom. Lin Ling's expression didn't change. He punched out. His powerful physical strength cracked the void and a storm surged. Rumble. In the desert, a huge ravine was punched out, and the god's head exploded. Lin Ling found some cultivation treasures on his body and continued on his way. After a long time, on the other side, Lin Ling met another god from the underworld. Boom. He killed with a punch. More and more gods appeared, but they couldn't stop Lin Ling's punch. Just like that, Lin Ling's physical strength increased greatly. The second star was born, and his physical strength reached 2 billion. And to reach 3 stars, Lin Ling felt that he had to have 4 billion physical strength. Moreover, after reaching 2 stars, Lin Ling could also use Panga's attack, which could double his physical strength. As for the domain of spiritual chi cultivation, his realm had also reached the mid-level god level. He had recovered 30% of his strength in the past. Lin Ling could also use more powerful moves. Hence, from then on, Lin Ling continuously attacked the universe giant gods. As time passed, Lin Ling's notoriety spread throughout this hell. Many people knew that a wild man had appeared in this area. He killed his opponents without using a second punch. One Punch Demon Man. This was the title given to Lin Ling by this level of hell. However, Lin Ling had walked all over the vicinity and still did not see Xianxia. Therefore, he guessed that Xianxia must have been forced to go further away for some reason. In the following days, Lin Ling began to travel into the distance. On this day, he finally sensed Saint Gui's aura. Lin Ling was very familiar with the aura of the Donghuang bell on Xianxia. As long as he was close enough, he would be able to sense it instantly. Finally found it. Lin Ling was overjoyed and hurriedly ran in that direction. Although he had recovered more than half of his strength and could fly, his running speed was even faster because of his #1 physical body in the universe. Boom! Boom! After a series of gallops, the earth shook, and he reached the horizon in the blink of an eye. At this moment, in the vast desert, a large number of gods were dealing with a burly man. If Lin Ling were here, he would definitely recognize this man as Xianxia. Kidney Bone, I didn't expect you to be with Shen Yu. Xianxia said coldly as he looked at the person opposite him. That person's entire body was made of bones, but they were incomparably stiff. His figure was also very tall. He said indifferently, "Black Tower, I know you obtained a great treasure in the Dizong Palace. Originally, I thought you had died in the Dizong Palace. I didn't expect you to still escape. However, the soul-burning emperor said that as long as you hand over the treasure, he will spare your life. Of course, the prerequisite is that you must submit to him. Shen Yu, when did you become the soul-burning emperor's dog?" Xianxia narrowed his eyes and scanned the people around him. These gods were all at the universe giant god level. Although they were weaker than the kings, there were too many of them. In addition, he had not recovered much of his strength, so the Donghuang bell could not unleash its power. The soul-burning emperor is too strong. Shen Yu and I have no choice but to submit to him. Kidney Bone said with a sigh. All right, since we know each other, I'll make an exception and tell you so much. Have you made your choice? Xianxia fell silent. He was a soul with memories and a fleshly body, so he had rich battle experience. He was thinking about how to kill this group of people. Unfortunately, no matter how he calculated, the final result was that he would not be able to escape. Damn it! Xianxia cursed inwardly. He had finally met his lord, but his lord was nowhere to be found. Instead, this group of people had found him. However, at this moment, a rumbling sound could be heard. The ground shook, and yellow sand shot up into the sky as if a giant beast was running toward them. All the gods' expressions changed as they stared into the distance. What a terrifying aura. Who is it? He's probably not weak. Everyone be careful. At this moment, Kidney Bone could not be bothered with Xianxia anymore. When the person in front arrived, he punched out. The wind blew, and the desert exploded. Several gods were killed by this punch. Bang, bang, bang. They fell to the ground and died with their eyes open. Oh no, it's the one-punch demon. Everyone recognized this madman, and their faces turned pale with fright. It was said that the one-punch demon was a cruel and merciless character. Not many people dared to provoke him. Most importantly, as long as they were targeted by him, they would all die. There was no room for mercy. One-punch demon. We're the soul-burning emperor's men. Kidney Bone's expression changed drastically, and he quickly said, "Rumble." However, the other party did not even bother to talk. He only killed ruthlessly. With each punch, a large number of gods died. No one could block his punch. He's just as the rumors say. The remaining gods were all afraid, and their bodies were trembling. Go, leave immediately. Kidney Bone gritted his teeth. He could only abandon the Black Tower and leave this place temporarily. But how can we report this? Some people were still unwilling to give up. How can we report this? The Black Tower has encountered the one-punch demon. He's dead for sure. Why do we need to report this? Kidney Bone shouted and fled into the distance. The other gods did not dare to stay and rushed into the distance. However, just as they moved, a figure chased after them. With a punch, several more gods were killed. Ah, why are you chasing after us? Black Tower, kill the Black Tower. Kidney Bone was completely confused. He had always thought that the one-punch demon was a pervert who would kill anyone he encountered. But now, the Black Tower was actually fine. Another explosion sounded, and finally, only Kidney Bone was left. I'll fight you to the death, one-punch demon. Don't think I'm afraid of you. Kidney Bone saw that there was no way to escape. He suddenly enlarged and turned into a huge skeleton. A terrifying aura spread out from his skull. It was terrifying. Although he was only a king-level universe giant, he was definitely one of the strongest. With a punch, all the bones were shattered. One punch killed. Pang! In the sky, a figure crashed down. It was the one-punch demon. In the distance, Saint Guy was dumbfounded. He was too strong. Even a king-level universe giant could not block one punch. The one-punch demon was indeed worthy of his reputation. Then, his expression turned ugly. Was it his turn now? Chapter 50-41. Xianxia, I'm back. A familiar voice drifted over with the wind. Xianxia was stunned for a long time. Although the person walking towards him was unfamiliar and even gave him a wild and unruly feeling, the voice was very familiar. No matter how much a person changed, even if their voice changed, the tone would never change. This tone was the kind of tone one would use when talking to a friend or a grave. My lord. Xianxia was too familiar with Lin Ling. In a short moment, he reacted and rushed over to Lin Ling, kneeling with a thud. Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. His burly body was like a mountain as he looked at the kneeling Xianxia indifferently. His cold face gradually revealed a smile. The two of them, one standing and one kneeling, were frozen in place. The wind whistled past the yellow sand and time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Two people from another world, after going through life and death, finally reunited in the underworld. Xianxia, it's great to see you. Looking at Xianxia quietly, Lin Ling's eyes were moist and tears fell silently. Even if their appearances and voices had changed, they were still the same people. Lin Ling strode forward and helped Xianxia up. Xianxia was crying his eyes out as he muttered, My lord, my lord. He had known Lin Ling for a long time. They had entered the Dao realm together in Lei Gong's Great Hall in the Void of Zhou. They had faced countless life and death situations together and had cultivated a deep brotherly relationship. Moreover, every time Lei Gong's Great Hall was in danger, it was Lin Ling who protected them and led them out of danger. Especially this time, when they encountered the Moonlight Clan, he saw how Lin Ling risked his life before he died, and his hair turned white in a single breath. Therefore, when he recovered his memories in the underworld, his first thought was to find Lin Ling. Xianxia. Lin Ling looked at Xianxia. His emotions were still as agitated as ever. My lord, how did you become like this? Furthermore, why did you come out of the Dizong Palace? Xianxia asked excitedly. Lin Ling gave a brief account of what had happened. Although it was simple, Xianxia was still nervous. After all, if Lin Ling died in the Dizong Palace, he might die forever. Who would avenge them then? Although Saint Guy had recovered his memories and even found his physical body, he knew that he still had to rely on Lin Ling if he wanted to escape from the underworld. Xianxia, how did you find your body? Lin Ling asked. Xianxia also gave a rough account of how he had entered the netherworld. It turned out that after that day, Saint Guy was killed by the Moonlight clan and entered the netherworld. Furthermore, his soul had been cleansed 3 times. However, when Saint Guy became a departed spirit, the Eastern Emperor Bell suddenly appeared and sent back memories to Saint Guy. Guai started searching for a physical body and gradually reached this step. The Eastern Emperor Bell is indeed one of the top 10 divine weapons in the universe. Lin Ling couldn't help but exclaim. He didn't expect the Eastern Emperor Bell to leave behind Saint Guy's memories, avoiding the detection of the netherworld and returning them to Xianxia. However, it was a pity that Xianxia's physical body was an ordinary netherworld bloodline. I don't need a physical body. What I need is a bloodline. When the Eastern Emperor Bell returned my memories, it also gave me a drop of the Eastern Emperor bloodline. Xianxia smiled when he saw Lin Ling frown. He then said happily for Lin Ling, My lord, now that you have the #1 physical body in the universe, you will definitely be able to bring us out of the netherworld in the future. We will definitely leave the netherworld, but before that, we have to find everyone. Lin Ling nodded and looked into the distance. There was a burning flame in his eyes. My lord, this is the pearl of Xianxia that I found in the Xianxia palace. It is extremely precious. Take it. Xianxia took out a pearl and handed it to Lin Ling. There are 4 pearls in total. Shan Yu, Yuan Wenbing, and I each have 1. Pearl of Xianxia? Lin Ling took the pearl and found that it was about the size of a finger. There were mysterious patterns on its surface. It was very magical. However, Lin Ling felt a strong spiritual energy fluctuation in the pearl. This spiritual energy was extremely strange. It seemed to be nether chi. Most importantly, the nether chi was too dense. This pearl is a treasure. Lin Ling looked up and looked at Xianxia in shock. Xianxia smiled. Those people who chased after me were after this pearl. However, they were unlucky and were all killed by my lord. My lord, you can have this pearl. Lin Ling shook his head. This pearl was so precious that Xianxia must have gone through a lot of trouble to get it. He was too embarrassed to take it. My lord, you don't have to be so polite with me. Only when you become stronger can you lead us out of the underworld. If I become stronger, I can only fight against the underworld. Xianxia saw Lin Ling's rejection and quickly said, I, Xianxia, am not weak. However, I know very well that I will always be below Lord Lin Ling in this life. After hearing Xianxia's words, Lin Ling hesitated for a moment before accepting the pearl of Xianxia. Indeed, he urgently needed to increase his strength. Only then could he lead Xianxia to find the others. Xianxia, you have been here for so many years. Have you found the whereabouts of the others? Lin Ling sat down cross-legged and asked. Xianxia shook his head. The underworld is too big. There are 18 levels of hell and the highest level of the underworld. We have too many people, almost 100,000. It will be difficult to find them. However, if my lord can obtain the reincarnation of King Yanlua, then you will be able to find their whereabouts from the Book of Death. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. He knew that if he wanted to obtain the Book of Life and Death, the most important thing was to recover his strength. He began to refine the pearl of Xianxia while Xianxia protected Lin Ling not far away. He looked at the man sitting cross-legged. The man who looked different from before did not diminish in his excitement. One had to know that the underworld was so big. Finding the people of the past was like finding a needle in a haystack. However, he had met the lord he wanted to find the most. My lord, you have returned. With your personality, you will definitely be able to bring us back for revenge. Xianxia laughed excitedly. Others might not be able to fight against the ancient races of the universe, but he believed that the lord above him could definitely do it. Lin Ling continued to refine the pearl of Xianxia. This pearl contained dense underworld energy. If one was not a god of the underworld, it would be difficult to refine. However, Lin Ling had the #1 physical body cultivation technique in the universe and the chaos deity formula. This was not a problem for him. Moreover, his refining speed was incomparably fast. The Pearl of Xianxia was indeed a great treasure. It continuously increased Lin Ling's cultivation in 3 areas: soul power, cultivation realm, physical body. Chapter 50-42. However, Lin Ling's soul power was strong to begin with, so his progress was not obvious. Instead, his cultivation realm improved the fastest. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the pinnacle of the mid-level celestial realm. He was only a hair's breadth away from becoming a high-level celestial. However, Lin Ling did not cultivate all 8 dantians at the same time this time. He had only reached the required level. This was because he had a feeling that although his physical body was destroyed, as long as he could find a trace of flesh, he could use it to recover his cultivation. Moreover, although he did not have 8 dantians, Lin Ling relied on his physical body in the netherworld. At this moment, with the help of the Pearl of Xianxia, his physical body was improving rapidly. Gradually, his strength reached 4 billion, the same as before. However, the Pearl of Xianxia still had a lot of netherworld energy, which allowed Lin Ling's physical strength to increase rapidly. Gradually it reached 10 billion. On his forehead, the 4th star was born. The body of a 4-star Pangu. Whoosh! Around Lin Ling, who was sitting cross-legged, yellow sand rose into the air and formed a vortex. The area of the vortex was extremely large, as if the entire yellow sand ground had been stirred up by Lin Ling. Rumble! The earth began to shake, causing the netherworld to become unstable. What's going on? There seems to be an old demon cultivating in the north. Let's go and take a look. The yakshas in charge of guarding this realm received the news at this moment and flew in Lin Ling's direction. Rumble! The shaking continued. The huge vortex was like a bottomless pit, sucking in all the yellow sand nearby. However, the shaking gradually weakened. At the same time, a figure floated out from the depths of the vortex. He was bare-chested and had a wild aura. As he walked out, his body kept changing. Silver-white hair slowly grew out. His rugged face gradually became delicate and handsome. His aura gradually turned from wild to cold. My lord! In the distance, Saint Guy looked nervously at the man walking out. When the figure became clearer, he smiled excitedly. The man who walked out was also bare-chested. His muscles were not burly, but they were streamlined. His hair was white, and his aura was as cold as ice. It was Lin Ling's original appearance. Your original appearance is much better. TSK. I, Saint Guy, have traveled the entire universe, and you are the most handsome person I have ever seen. Saint Guy muttered to himself happily. Maybe it was because he worshipped Lin Ling, or maybe it was because Lin Ling was really handsome, but in Saint Gui's eyes, Lin Ling was the most perfect man in the universe. Only such a perfect and flawless man had the qualifications to be the lord above his head. The era of the universe will belong to you, my lord. Saint Guy walked over and knelt down in front of Lin Ling. Not only did his reverence for Lin Ling not decrease, it actually increased. Sheng Guy, you said that Shen Yu and the others also obtained the Pearl of Xianxia? Lin Ling asked after experiencing the benefits of the Pearl of Xianxia. Yes, I think they have too. Saint Guy nodded. Lin Ling's eyes twinkled. His cultivation had reached the early stage of high god, and his physical strength had reached the 10 billion mark. However, he was still far from being able to resist the netherworld. He needed more treasures. What's the strength of the person behind them? Lin Ling asked again. It's the Burning Soul Emperor, Saint Guy replied. He's one of the strongest king-class universe gods. He has 80 billion units of godly energy. Not 1,000? Lin Ling shook his head. In the Dao Tower, he had met a super-strong king-class universe god who had over 1,000 units of godly energy. He didn't expect the one in the netherworld to be so weak. Your Excellency, this is only one of the 18 hells of the netherworld, so the Burning Soul Emperor isn't the strongest of the king-class universe gods. However, he can still dominate the area. Saint Guy said. All right, let's go find him. Lin Ling's words made Saint Guy tremble. It was as though he had seen the days when Lin Ling had led them to conquer the universe. Who are you? Hey, that's Hey Ta. You escaped from the souls of the dead. You're a major criminal of the netherworld. At this time, a large number of Xianxias flew over from afar. When they saw Saint Guy, their killing intent soared. Who are you? Do you know who Heita is? He's a soul of the dead. Without the permission of the netherworld, he cultivated a body without permission. He's a major criminal. You're his accomplice. Now, I'll give you a chance. You'll be punished for your crimes. Those Xianxias stared at Lin Ling and shouted angrily. Lin Ling couldn't help but smile. He exchanged a glance with Saint Guy and shook his head. Saint Guy might be a major criminal of this level, but they didn't know that Lin Ling was a major criminal of the entire netherworld. Lin Ling didn't bother to say anything more. He and Saint Guy flew forward. You're courting death. Seeing Lin Ling's silence, the Xianxias were enraged. But at this time, Lin Ling threw a punch forward. The Xianxias' expressions changed, and they became vigilant. However, after the punch, everything returned to normal. Deliberately mystifying. The Xianxias reacted and laughed disdainfully. They were about to attack. Rumble. But at this time, a terrifying sound wave suddenly erupted. The entire netherworld was affected by this sound. Some souls were even shaken by the sound. Bang! 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 The Xianxias in the surroundings exploded under the power of this sound wave. Lin Ling killed hundreds of Xianxias with the power of sound waves from his body. From this, one could see how terrifying his body was. As for Lin Ling and Xianxia, they flew toward the soul-burning Emperor's city. Saint Guy was excited. Lord, you're so strong. No wonder you have the strongest body in the universe. He felt that after Lord Lin Ling obtained Pangu's body, he was reborn. The netherworld wanted to control him, but in reality, it was like releasing a demon. Lord, we're here. After a long time, Saint Guy pointed to the front and said, in the distance there was an ancient city. Cultivators from the netherworld were entering and exiting the city. There were even some souls. However, the souls were like slaves in the city. They were responsible for working for the people in exchange for rewards and slowly cultivating. This is the soul-burning city. Saint Guy said. Lin Ling nodded. His powerful soul power spread out and scanned the entire city. Then, he found that there were no powerful beings that were worthy of his attention. Saint Guy, tell them to get out of the city within the time it takes 3 incense sticks to burn. Lin Ling said to Saint Guy. Saint Guy understood and quickly flew forward. Then he shouted, people of the soul-burning city, listen up. You have 3 incense sticks to burn to get out of the city. Otherwise, all of you will die. His voice was loud and clear. Everyone in the city narrowed their eyes. Destroy the city? This person is so arrogant. At the same time, the soul-burning emperor also heard the voice. His eyes turned cold as he walked out with a large number of powerful beings. Chapter 50-43. Let's go and meet them. The soul-burning emperor's face was cold as he led a large number of experts out of the ancient city. Then, they saw a burly man floating above the city, looking down at them. Emperor, this is Heita. He has the pearl of Xianxia. Xianxia said to the soul-burning emperor. Xianxia was weaker than the soul-burning emperor, so no matter how arrogant he was, he did not dare to go against the soul-burning emperor. It's you. The soul-burning emperor stared at Xianxia and frowned. Go capture him. Then, he said to an expert behind him. At this moment, a man was hiding in the yellow sand far away from the soul-burning city. When he saw Xianxia, his expression changed slightly. I didn't expect Heita to still be alive. He should have run away after getting the pearl of Xianxia. Why did he come to the soul-burning city to die? He was one of the original team members, Yuan Wenbing. He had also gotten the pearl of Xianxia, but he was unwilling to hand it over, so he had been avoiding the soul-burning emperor. As the saying went, the most dangerous place was also the safest place. Everyone thought that he had run far away, but he was actually hiding in the vicinity of the soul-burning city. Die! Xianxia sneered when he saw the experts flying out from the sky. He activated the Donghuang bell and suppressed them. He had always been afraid of being discovered by the netherworld, so he rarely used the Donghuang bell. But now that Lin Ling had returned, he was no longer afraid of anything. Rumble! The gods were unable to resist the suppression of the Donghuang bell and were smashed into meat paste. What power! The soul-burning emperor and the others were shocked. especially the soul-burning emperor. He stared greedily at the Donghuang bell as if he wanted to take it for himself. How dare you kill the soul-burning emperor's men? Xianxia shouted and was about to attack, but the soul-burning emperor stopped her. He looked at Xianxia and said, "You're quite strong. Are you interested in following me? As long as you follow me, the pearl of Xitigaba will belong to you. You can do whatever you want in this level of hell." Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Xianxia laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain. If he recovered his strength, these people wouldn't even have the right to talk to him. Trying to recruit him? Only they could think of such a thing. You want to be my lord? You're not qualified. Besides, I've already found my lord, Xianxia said proudly after laughing in disdain. Your lord? The burning soul emperor frowned. He didn't like Xianxia's attitude. He was looking down on him too much. Xianxia also looked behind him and saw a white-haired man floating there, coldly looking at everyone. The man was very cold, and the strange thing was that if Saint Guy hadn't pointed him out, they wouldn't have noticed him at all. It's him. At the same time, Yuan Wenbing's expression changed drastically. Wasn't this the arrogant Soul Fangs? He actually made it out alive. Moreover, when had he become a lord of the Black Tower? He remembered that Fangs was the weakest existence in the team. This guy is too crazy. In the Dizong Palace, no one dared to touch him because he had the map fragment. After coming out, he still dares to act recklessly. It seems like he's used to being arrogant and won't change any time soon. Yuan Wenbing shook his head and said, "It's you, Fangs." Shen Yu recognized Lin Ling almost as soon as Yuan Wenbing recognized him. Her expression was full of shock. "Shen Yu, you know him?" The Burning Soul Emperor looked at Shen Yu and asked. "Of course I know him." Shen Yu nodded excitedly. He's just a very arrogant soul. When he entered the Dizong Palace that day, he relied on the map fragment to act arrogantly. However, I didn't expect this guy to still be so arrogant after coming out. Soul? You mean a reincarnated soul? What the hell? A reincarnated soul dares to be so arrogant. Where's his physical body? He dares to challenge us without a physical body. A large number of gods around the Burning Soul Emperor laughed with disdain. They weren't souls, but gods born in the underworld. They had a physical body and could cultivate the underworld's cultivation techniques. In their eyes, souls were just slaves. Ha ha ha, Black Tower. Don't tell me that the slave without a physical body is your lord. Are you blind, or am I blind? The soul-burning Emperor Lord asked Xianxia after laughing heartily. You're all courting death. Saint Guy's face turned cold. They could laugh at him, but not at his lord. I guess the Black Tower is blind. Shen Yu flew out and walked slowly towards Lin Ling. He smiled faintly and said, Fangs, I've always been curious. From the first time you saw me, you wanted to kill me. What's going on? If I remember correctly, you and I should be the first. Let's meet again. In the sky, Lin Ling's white hair fluttered in the wind. His expression was cold as he stared at Shen Yu. His eyes were filled with dense killing intent. Shen Yu, a god of the Silver Moon race, how could he not want to kill him? He didn't say anything and suddenly punched out. Rumble. This punch exploded the sky and flew past Shen Yu, causing Shen Yu to be stunned. A mere soul dared to attack her? No, the punch wasn't aimed at him, but at the other side. What was Fangs doing? Was he deliberately mystifying things? Shen Yu didn't believe that a soul like Fangs could be powerful. Rumble. However, at this moment, a terrifying explosion came from behind him. A ferocious gust of wind blew at Shen Yu's hair, causing his expression to freeze. Then, he turned around in disbelief and saw the most unbelievable scene in his life. That was because the vast burning soul city had been destroyed by a single punch. There were countless casualties. It was estimated that hundreds of thousands of people had been killed by that single punch. Ah! Save me! What's going on? Some of the more powerful people had escaped death, but at this moment, they couldn't react. Then, they all looked up at Lin Ling, especially the Burning Soul Emperor. His pupils constricted and his heart was beating rapidly. A single punch had killed most of his people? You're courting death. The Burning Soul Emperor and the others were furious. They all pounced on Lin Ling and attacked Lin Ling one after another. Shan Yu was still frozen in midair. Perhaps things had happened too quickly, so fast that he couldn't react. After the Burning Soul Emperor and the others rushed toward Lin Ling, they all exploded with powerful strength. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. Even if there were a king-tier cosmic giant god here, not many people could stop them. The dazzling light and fierce wind blew at Shen Yu's hair. He was still frozen in place, unable to react. Rumble! Shen Yu's eyes flashed when the powerful attacks ended. He completely woke up. That's right, Fangs had indeed destroyed a city with a single punch and killed many gods. Chapter 5044. Thinking of this, Shen Yu stared ahead and saw a white-haired man floating in the sky. He had his hands behind his back and was motionless. All the previous attacks had landed on him, but not only was he not injured, he was also completely unharmed. Not dead? How could a soul have such power? One had to know that souls were afraid of light, cold, and sunlight. Even if a soul was more powerful, it would only be able to resist more attacks. However, the defense of the soul was naturally weaker than the physical body. This was something that everyone knew. Could it be? Shen Yu's pupils trembled violently as she suddenly shouted, "It's a physical body, a physical body!" What, a physical body? Soul-Burning Emperor and the others were also trembling. This was the first time they had seen such a terrifying physical body. Previously, they had mocked Yadu for not having a physical body, but now, Yadu's physical body had given them a hard slap. "Senior, I was impulsive before. I hope you can forgive me." Soul-Burning Emperor pondered for a moment, then immediately bowed and apologized. When the others saw this, they knew that they had met a powerful god and hurriedly bowed and apologized. Seeing this, Shen Yu, who had just regained her composure, froze in the sky again. Lin Ling had his hands behind his back as he walked step by step towards Soul-Burning Emperor and the others. Now, he had the #1 physical body in the universe and was also a 4-star Pangu. How could these insignificant universe gods hurt him? He arrived in front of Soul-Burning Emperor and looked down at him. "You want my people to become your people?" Soul-Burning Emperor trembled. Previously, he had wanted to recruit Xianxia, but now, it seemed that he was not qualified. "Me," Soul-Burning Emperor said anxiously. However, just as he said the word "me," Lin Ling punched him. Boom! Soul-Burning Emperor's body exploded, and he could not be more dead. Unlike Shen Yu and Xianxia, he was a god born and bred in the underworld. They were both gods who had forcibly taken over other people's bodies to cultivate, but they still couldn't withstand a single punch from Lin Ling. Great Emperor! All of the gods trembled when they saw that the Burning Soul Emperor had been killed by a single punch. The Burning Soul Emperor is very close to the Wuxia king. Someone said uneasily. Soul-Burning Emperor was able to walk freely in this level of hell because he had the support of Wuxia king. Boom! Lin Ling did not even look at him and killed him with one punch. Cold. Extremely cold. Everyone was trembling. They were so afraid that they did not dare to resist. Bang bang bang. Lin Ling's fists continued to blast out, ending the lives of these gods. Then, he walked step by step toward Shen Yu. And when Shen Yu saw Lin Ling walking over, he was so scared that he couldn't say a word. It was too scary, so scary that he didn't dare to resist at all. Only, when did Yadu become so strong? In the previous trip to Dizong Palace, if he wanted to kill Yadu, it would be a piece of cake. Yadu, Shen Yu Shen, he Shen Yu he, Shen Yu Shen. Yu. However, Yu Shen Yu, Lin hearing Lin Ling's words, Shen Yu could only raise his head and look at Lin Ling nervously. Lin Ling's appearance was clearly reflected in his eyes and even in his heart. It had to be said that Lin Ling was not ugly. Compared to the strange appearances of the underworld gods, he was extremely handsome. However, Lin Ling was very cold. It was as if his entire body was formed by killing intent and ice. The most terrifying thing was that Lin Ling had a physical body and not a soul. After taking a look, Shen Yu did not dare to look again. He looked away. Lin Ling's coldness was truly terrifying. "You are afraid of me," Lin Ling said coldly. "I am." Although Shen Yu did not say anything, his expression said it all. "Do you know why I have such a strong killing intent towards you?" Lin Ling said again. His words made Shen Yu very curious. After all, when Yadu was still a soul, he was already full of murderous intent. This murderous intent was very deep, and Xianxia could feel that it was an irreconcilable hatred. Because you are from the Silver Moon race. Your ancient race of the universe killed all my friends, my wife, and my family. Therefore when I see you, I cannot wait to kill you. Lin Ling said coldly. I, Lin Ling, admit that I am not a good person. I have killed countless people. However, every debt has its debtor. When I kill a murderer, as long as the murderer's family and friends do not help me, I will not touch them. However, the Yin Guang of the Silver Moon race is exterminated. There is no principle to speak of. Ah, the Silver Moon race? Xianxia shouted. I really don't know what Yin Guang is. I also don't know about the Silver Moon race. After he entered the underworld, his memories had long disappeared. Naturally, he did not know who Yin Guang was. Then, his eyes trembled violently. Yadu actually knew about the Silver Moon race and Yin Guang. Could it be that he had memories? A soul with memories? How could this be possible? His heart was pounding non-stop. Only now did he know that Yadu was not an ordinary person. Lord Yadu, I am innocent. I don't even have memories. Although I am from the Silver Moon race, I definitely did not participate in that matter when I was alive. Xianxia kept begging for mercy. Lin Ling looked at him indifferently. His eyes were still cold. Who could be sure that Xianxia was not that group of people? After all, at that time, Lin Ling had also killed many people from the Silver Moon race when he fought back. Even if he was not, so what? Yin Guang could kill Lin Ling's family and friends because he wanted to kill him. He, Lin Ling, could do the same. There was no right or wrong in this matter. There was only a difference in position and strength. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being from the Silver Moon race. Lin Ling muttered to himself and punched out. Don't! Xianxia shouted, but his body still exploded in the end. Lin Ling looked at the dead Xianxia with cold eyes. He then looked into the distance and sneered. Yin Guang, now that I have begun to grow, I will definitely find you soon. Wait for me. Lord, I found another pearl of Xianxia on them. At this time, Xianxia flew over. Lin Ling took the pearl of Xianxia and left with Xianxia. Now, there was probably no one he knew on this level of hell. He had to go to the next level to find Yu and the others. Yadu is actually so strong. After Lin Ling and the others left, Yuan Wenbing trembled on the yellow sand. He thought of Yadu in the Xianxia palace and the current Yadu. He never expected that among the people who had entered the Xianxia palace, those who had died and those who had been injured, the one who had luckily escaped was Yadu. Especially when he thought of Yadu killing a group of gods with a single punch, he was even more shocked. This was something he could not do. Perhaps he would never be able to do it in this lifetime. Chapter 50-45. Holding the pearl of Xianxia in his hand, Lin Ling sat on the scorching desert. Gradually, his body sank into the desert and disappeared. A huge sand whirlpool appeared and engulfed Lin Ling. My lord! Seeing Lin Ling disappear, Xianxia couldn't help but smile. He flew back to Soul Ceiling City and started looting the corpses of the dead. But at this time, there were some who wanted to take advantage of the situation. But when they saw Xianxia, they were all shocked and quickly ran away. Senior, you come. They had seen from afar that the lord above this white-haired man's head was so powerful that he could destroy soul-burning city with a single punch, including the soul-burning emperor. It could be said that no one could withstand a single punch from the white-haired man. Now, how could they dare to fight with the white-haired man for the spoils of war? At least you know what's good for you. Xianxia ignored them and started searching for treasures in the city. After Lin Ling sank into the ground, he continued to refine the pearl of Xianxia. His cultivation realm gradually reached the peak of the higher god realm, and he was only a step away from the giant god realm. His physical strength had increased from 10 billion to 18 billion, and he had finally attained the 5-star Panga body. But the power of the pearl of Xianxia didn't weaken. It was still increasing, and Lin Ling's physical strength gradually reached 36 billion. This was the body of a 6-star Pangu. Time passed slowly. After a long time, Lin Ling floated up from the underground whirlpool. 6 stars hung on his forehead. My lord! When Lin Ling came out, Xianxia was already waiting for him. And Lin Ling could sense that Xianxia's strength had increased. My lord, where are we going next? Xianxia looked at Lin Ling happily. He could also sense that Lin Ling's aura had changed. It was much stronger than before. To find King Yenluo. Lin Ling pondered and then said. Now that his strength had increased greatly, and he had recovered almost 80% of his strength, he could probably fight King Yenluo. All right. Xianxia immediately nodded and left with Lin Ling. Xianxia was very familiar with this level of hell, so he brought Lin Ling along. After a long time, a rolling whirlpool appeared in front of them, forming an incomparably huge sandstorm. Everything within the sandstorm could not be seen clearly. There was only one path leading into the sandstorm, but that path was heavily guarded. Yakshas were constantly escorting the souls of the dead into the sandstorm. These souls of the dead were criminals, just like Lin Ling when he first came to the netherworld. Moreover, other than the souls of the dead, there were many more in this prison of hell. As long as any god committed a mistake, they would all be imprisoned here. However, it was clear that this prison was not very advanced, so the prisoners were not strong. Of course, the yakshas guarding the prison were not strong either. My lord, this is the prison of this level of hell. King Yenluo is the Night King Yenluo. In front of the rolling sandstorm, Xianxia said to Lin Ling, if you want to enter here, the only way is through the gate. However, if you go there, you will inevitably be discovered. Enter through the sandstorm and find King Yenluo first. Think of a way to find out the whereabouts of Yu and the rest. If we get the news, we will wreak havoc in the prison and then leave. Lin Ling looked ahead and said, enter through the sandstorm? I heard that the sandstorm around this prison is even more terrifying than the one in Dizong Palace. Xianxia's expression changed. Lin Ling looked ahead quietly, constantly estimating the power of the sandstorm. He nodded and said, I think we can enter. With that, he rushed into the sandstorm with Xianxia. Rumble. The sandstorm here was incomparably terrifying. It was like a knife, and every grain of sand contained the might of the universe. Clang, clang. When the sand hit Lin Ling's body, it produced a metallic sound. However, Lin Ling couldn't block the blade-like sandstorm. His body was cut open, and fresh blood dripped from his body. However, Lin Ling's expression didn't change. Under Lin Ling's protection, Xianxia was safe. However, when he heard the rumbling outside, he was extremely worried about Lin Ling. Lin Ling didn't say a word. Blood poured out of his body, and then the sandstorm tore his blood apart and turned him into nothingness. After an unknown amount of time, the heavy feeling in his body finally disappeared. His vision suddenly opened up. He saw a huge mine in the middle of the sandstorm, and he could vaguely see a large number of people mining there. And in the middle of the mine, there was a palace made of black rock. He's out. At this moment, Xianxia reacted and couldn't help but let out a light breath. When he looked at Lin Ling, he saw that Lin Ling was covered in blood and jumped in fright. Sir! Xianxia anxiously shouted. I'm fine. Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. The wounds on his body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Panga's body, defense, and recovery were both top-notch. As long as he didn't die, he could quickly recover from any injuries. Sir, your injuries. Xianxia was incomparably shocked. Lin Ling's injuries had healed in the blink of an eye. This speed was too fast. Lin Ling was still looking ahead, searching with his powerful soul force. Finally, he found a huge crystal rhombus-shaped stone in the palace. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed, and he investigated even more. Soon, he discovered that there was a mysterious aura coming from the rhombus-shaped stone. He guessed that the rhombus-shaped stone recorded the whereabouts of countless souls. It was similar to the 3-live stone, which recorded the soul's 3 lives and 3 lifetimes. If I'm not wrong, this is the thing I'm looking for. Lin Ling withdrew his soul force and looked around. He found a large number of souls mining, and the ores were extremely precious. It seemed like they were being sent to another underworld. If he could obtain it, Lin Ling was confident that his body's strength would increase again. But for now, Lin Ling didn't want to act too quickly. This was because he discovered that there were many underworld powerhouses in the main hall of the palace. Yama King was a white-haired old man. He wore a large cloak and held the Book of Life and Death in his hand. Lin Ling waited there with Xianxia. At the same time, in the main hall, the white-haired old man frowned. Earlier, he had sensed a strange force attacking him. It was very strange, but when he carefully investigated, he didn't discover anything. Could it be my misperception? The old man muttered to himself. Then he ignored it and said, "Men, is the underworld ore ready?" "Sir, it's ready, but the aura of the underworld ore is too strong. Hundreds of people have already died in the process." A Yuxia king respectfully replied. "Send the underworld riders to send them off." The old man waved his hand and said. Everyone accepted the order and left. The old man walked to a corner of the palace and looked at the huge rhombus-shaped stone. Then he muttered to himself, "It's shown in the life and death stone. It won't be long before another batch of souls comes." He sat down cross-legged and slowly cultivated. After an unknown period of time, a figure suddenly appeared outside the window. The old man opened his eyes and stared at that person. His expression changed instantly. Chapter 50-46. Who are you? The old man stood up abruptly, his aura surging. This was hell's prison. How could random people enter? Moreover, he had been in the underworld for many years and this was the first time he had seen someone barge into hell. King Yanluo, right? I only have one request. I want the stone that records souls. Deal. The newcomer walked into the hall and spoke coldly. At the same time, the old man saw that this person had a head of white hair and wore a black robe. He was incomparably cold as ice. Most importantly, the killing intent on his body was extremely dense, as if it had materialized. Stone that records souls? Insolent. This is a life and death stone. There are only 62 pieces in the entire underworld. How dare you touch it? Hearing this, the old man angrily shouted. The aura of King Yanluo rolled out. Since Senior is unwilling, then don't blame me. The white-haired man lightly shook his head and walked forward step by step. His body didn't seem tall, but it seemed as if he had turned into a giant. You're courting death. The old man coldly shouted. Men, men. However, no matter how much he shouted, no one could hear him. This was because the entire hall was sealed by the white-haired man's soul force. Bang! The white-haired man and the old man collided, causing the entire hall to tremble. Impossible! My divine force is so powerful. Why aren't you afraid of it? Could it be that your body is invincible against divine force? Moreover, your attack doesn't contain any divine force. Why is it so powerful? This is your physical strength. The old man's frightened voice came from the hall, but it soon quieted down. Time seemed to have stopped. Looking carefully, the old man was frozen on the spot. The white-haired man walked past the tables and chairs and slowly came to a corner of the hall. He picked up the rhombus-shaped crystal stone and began to investigate it. Break for me, the white-haired man said in a low voice. His fist landed on the crystal stone, shattering it. Then, countless fragments floated up and revolved around the man, gradually disappearing. The man was using his soul force to refine the crystal stone. After a long time, the man opened his eyes. There were whirlpools in his eyes. All the information about the crystal stone poured into his mind. Found it. The white-haired man revealed an excited smile. Although he had not found his family, he had met a few friends. After that, the white-haired man stood up and left with large strides. The hall was still silent, and only the dead old man was still standing on the ground without moving. A moment later, the white-haired man came to the balcony and looked down at the countless mineral veins below. With a single step, he disappeared from the spot. The white-haired man appeared in the mine. He stopped in his tracks, and endless amounts of nether ore floated up and swirled around him. Refine. The man growled as he continued to refine the nether ores. Gradually, his entire body was covered in nether ores. What happened? In the mine, all the miners were shocked, but they didn't dare to get too close to the man. After all, the nether ore here was too strong, and they would be in danger if they got too close. Usually, when they were mining, they would only bring along a small ore each. How would they dare to approach so many ores at once? Milord. Gradually, some Yikshaws arrived and looked at the scene in shock. A few powerful underworld knights also appeared. They were riding tall horses and wearing heavy armor. They were also looking at the vast pile of nether ores. For a moment, they didn't understand what had happened, and they felt extremely strange. Not good, Lord Yanluo is dead. But at this moment, a voice came from the palace, causing the entire prison to panic. Lord Yanluo is dead. What happened? I wonder who killed His Excellency King Yanluo without anyone noticing. This person's strength is too strong. After so many years in the underworld, this is the first time someone dared to attack Lord Yanluo. Voices kept coming, and the Yakshas and underworld generals looked serious. They naturally knew that this matter was going to shake the underworld. After all, no one had dared to kill Lord Yanluo in the underworld for so many years. After all, this was equivalent to provoking the entire underworld. No matter who it was, in a place like the underworld, could they go against the entire underworld? Could it be him? Suddenly, a Yaksha king looked at the pile of nether ores in front of him. This time, everyone looked at the pile of nether ores with a serious expression and murderous intent. However, when they thought of Lord Yanluo's death, the underworld generals didn't dare to act rashly. Boom! But at this moment, the nether ores exploded, and a white-haired man walked out. His body was surrounded by dense fog, making him look like a dream. His aura was extremely strange. It looked ordinary, but it gave people an extremely grand and ancient feeling. You are the one who killed Lord Yanluo? A underworld general said solemnly. Although his voice was majestic, the demon horse he was sitting on trembled when it saw the white-haired man. They stared at the white-haired man, unable to believe it. After all, who in the underworld would dare to kill Lord Yanluo and cultivate in the nether ores? For a moment, everyone looked at the white-haired man and didn't speak for a long time. The white-haired man looked at the crowd indifferently, but his eyes were calm, as if he was looking at a group of ants. Dang! Finally, the white-haired man spoke. When he spoke, it was as if he had announced the line between life and death. All the Yakshas and underworld generals trembled. Even if they were backed by the underworld, even if they were powerful, they still felt their scalps go numb when the white-haired man said the word, die. Who is this person? Is he really going against the underworld? As for the prisoners in the mine, they looked at this scene uneasily. But at this moment, the white-haired man finally made his move. He had already obtained the life and death stone, so everything else had nothing to do with him. Boom, boom, boom. He punched out continuously, and with every punch, several Yakshas died. He even blew up the underworld cavalry with a punch, killing both the rider and the horse. The scene turned into a one-sided massacre. Countless prisoners looked at this scene and trembled in shock. However, the one-sided massacre ended as quickly as it started. In less than 3 incense sticks' time, all the Yakshas and underworld generals were killed. The white-haired man brought a burly man with him and strode out of the prison, taking away a lot of nether ores. Ah, who are you? How dare you cause a ruckus in the prison? This is hell. Who gave you the guts to cause a ruckus in hell? Along the way, they naturally encountered many Yakshas and underworld soldiers. However, they were all killed by the white-haired man with a punch. A path to the outside world was successfully opened, and all the underworld soldiers in Hell Prison were killed. Free, we are free. Kill, kill, kill. In Hell Prison, all the prisoners gradually came to their senses. Then, they rushed out of the prison with murderous intent. Hell Prison was destroyed, and the underworld was in chaos. Lord, haha, interesting. Chapter 50-47. Walking along the yellow sand, Lin Ling's mood finally improved. Ever since the incident at the Dao Tower, Lin Ling had been suppressing a knot in his heart. He was afraid that everyone would disappear. He was also afraid that it would be difficult for him to make a comeback. But now, after his hard work, he was finally getting stronger. He was even beginning to find the people of the past. Previously, when he looted the underworld and hell, his physical body's strength had reached 60 billion. If he used the Pangu strike, his strength would reach 120 billion. Moreover, he would also have 100% speed boost and godly power, making him invincible. Therefore, the King of Hell was no match for Lin Ling. With Lin Ling's current strength, it was not much different from back then. The only difference was that he did not have the 8 dantians. If he could find the 8 dantians that he had lost back then, Lin Ling's strength could increase even more. Lin Ling continued to move forward with Saint Guyi. After a long time, he arrived at a market. There were all kinds of people here. There were gods of the underworld and many souls. However, the departed souls that could appear here were all existences that had committed all sorts of crimes. Found it! Looking at the lively market in front of him, Lin Ling could not help but smile. He had refined the life and death stone, so he naturally knew the whereabouts of Emperor Xianxia and the others. Just like the mark of the underworld that was sealed in Lin Ling's body, the underworld could find Lin Ling's whereabouts through the life and death stone. Even many unrelated souls could be found by Lin Ling. He could know their origins, whereabouts and so on. Lin Ling's soul was strong enough. Otherwise, he would not have been able to devour so much information. Saint Guyi, do it. Lin Ling said to Saint Guyi. Saint Guyi nodded excitedly and activated the Donghuang bell to suppress the market. Rumble. This suppression did not kill anyone. It was just to prevent unrelated people from meddling. The effect was very good. When the Donghuang bell appeared, the faces of the people in the market changed drastically. After dodging the attack, they saw Lin Ling and Saint Guyi walking over. They did not dare to breathe loudly. Him and those people. Lin Ling said to Saint Guyi as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Come out. Saint Guyi smiled excitedly and hurried over to those people. What is the meaning of this? Those who were pointed at by Lin Ling had vigilant looks on their faces, as if they were deeply afraid of being killed by Lin Ling. Don't worry, we're friends. I'm here to save you today. Xianxia explained. However, the more he explained, the more nervous those people became. Because everyone who wanted to kill them said the same thing. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head and didn't waste any time. He released his powerful soul power and enveloped those people. Then, he forcefully stuffed the memories in the life and death stone into their souls. The life and death stone not only recorded the past and present lives of the soul, but also recorded when and where the soul was reincarnated, including the memories of each life. It was a precious treasure of the underworld. The Yama King of the underworld was able to control the souls of the underworld because he had the stone of life and death. Since Lin Ling had swallowed the life and death stone, he naturally possessed everything within it. Ah! Those people's souls trembled in pain as their memories were forcefully stuffed into them. The onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air. What was going on? I'm great Emperor Xianxia. Lin Ling, it's you. However, a moment later, one of the souls let out a loud roar and looked at Lin Ling excitedly. Lord Lin Ling, great Emperor Xianxia. The others gradually regained their senses and their faces were filled with shock. Found you. Lin Ling smiled faintly. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, I have my memories. Everything that I lost is back. Great Emperor Xianxia looked at the people around him and danced with joy. The surrounding people's faces changed drastically. They could clearly see Great Emperor Xianxia hugging an enemy. One should know that not long ago, they were life and death enemies. But now, they were as close as brothers. Memories, they actually obtained their memories of the past. Before they obtained their memories, they were life and death enemies. But after they obtained their memories, they realized that they were on the same side. How can the souls of the underworld possess their memories? The surrounding people gradually reacted and shouted in horror. You will have your memories too. Lin Ling smiled faintly as he looked at them. His soul force spread out, found a large amount of memories, and forcefully stuffed them into everyone's souls. Relax, if you want your memories, then let me handle it. Lin Ling's voice floated out at the same time. Those souls wanted to resist, but gradually, they allowed Lin Ling to do as he wished. Everyone wanted to regain their memories of the past. As long as their memories were restored, they would know a lot of cultivation methods. If they could find a physical body, it was possible to restore their strength. Ah, my memories are restored. I am from the Tang family village. Dead and resurrected, dead and resurrected. Damn the underworld, you want to control us? Dream on. After a long time, everyone regained their memories. When they recalled the bits and pieces of their past, they all shouted excitedly. The underworld had robbed them of their memories. Now that they had finally regained their memories, they naturally wouldn't let the underworld take back their memories. While they were excited, Lin Ling had already led everyone away. Lin Ling, how did you find us? Great Emperor Xianxia and the others were still very excited. When they saw Lin Ling, it was as if they had seen their family. Back then, they had gone through life and death together. Now that they had met again, their feelings for each other were even deeper. Moreover, they didn't expect Lin Ling to be so powerful that he could escape from the underworld shackles and find them. They rejoiced because they knew Lin Ling. After all, without Lin Ling, they could only reincarnate and become mortals. Sure enough, everything was different when they followed Lin Ling. It's a long story. Let's find the others first. Lin Ling said with a smile. He had already decided to find the others first, then find a physical body for them to restore their strength. Finally, they could escape from the underworld. It was like being resurrected from the dead and escaping from the underworld's control. My lord, we have to find our people and restore their memories. That's what we must do. But why did we restore the memories of those people from before? Saint Guy asked curiously. Hearing that, Lin Ling explained with a smile. Now that this level of hell is in chaos, the underworld will know about us sooner or later. To prevent the underworld from targeting us, we need the water of this level of hell to make it even more chaotic. My lord is right. Saint Guy and the others were enlightened. Before long, Lin Ling found many of his friends and restored their memories. Then, he released his powerful soul power and restored the memories of all the dead souls in this level of hell. Kill. Ha ha ha, I, Hu-Han-san, am alive again. The underworld is nothing. Today, I will wreak havoc in the underworld. This level of hell was completely destroyed. Not only were there criminals released by Lin Ling, but all the dead souls had also recovered their memories. They went on a killing spree, killing everyone in the underworld. Chapter 50-48. The Silver Moon Clan was related to the underworld. Therefore, Yin Wangguang could enter and leave the underworld at will. After all, the Silver Moon God ancestor was extremely powerful. Even the underworld had to give him some face. Lin Ling has reincarnated. We have not found his reincarnation location yet. I estimate that it will be 100 years later. The deities of the underworld looked at each other, and one of the kings of hell said faintly, "Ha ha ha, reincarnated? Do you know what he is now?" Hearing that, Yin Wangguang's eyes were filled with sinister light and he could not help but laugh. Although Lin Ling was dead, he had sworn that he would not let Lin Ling off even in death. He would torture Lin Ling forever and play him in the palm of his hand. Beast path. The king of hell said calmly. Ha ha ha, beast. Beast. That's great. Yin Wangguang laughed even louder and crazier. In the end, he kept coughing. Obviously, he was extremely happy and satisfied. Since he is a beast, I will let him off in this life and let him suffer the pain of reincarnation. I will come and see him again in 100 years. After laughing, Yin Wangguang seemed to be talking to himself. Your Excellency, as the saying goes, a dead man is like a lamp being extinguished. Lin Ling is dead and he is no longer a deity. Why not let him go? The king of hell advised after thinking for a while. This was the first time he had seen someone with such deep hatred. Even in death, he would not let him off. Let him off. Yin Wangguang's pupils constricted, and his face turned ferocious. Impossible. He killed my son. I want him to be tortured for eternity. Not only him, but all of his family and friends will be tortured. Right, I know that he has a universe in which he is. There are still some people hidden in it. Ha ha ha, I will find them sooner or later and kill them all. Sigh. Hearing that, the king of hell sighed. He knew how ruthless Yin Wangguang was. Of course, the reason why he advised Yin Wangguang was not that he wanted Yin Wangguang to stop. It was because Lin Ling's fate was unknown. Therefore, he wanted Yin Wangguang to stop pursuing Lin Ling. If your son dies alone, countless people will be buried with him. Sigh, this goes against the harmony of the universe. That Yama King said again. Humph, I asked you to find my son's soul, but you said that my son's soul was destroyed and he died forever. I haven't settled this with the underworld yet. Yin Wangguang snorted and strode away. I'll be back in 100 years. At that time, you can let Lin Ling reincarnate as a mortal. I'll torture him. As the voice drifted out, the silvery light gradually disappeared. Upon seeing this, the gods of the underworld revealed a troubled expression. Now that Lin Ling's whereabouts were unknown, and his soul had probably dissipated, how were they going to hand him over after 100 years? 100 years later, I'll just say that Lin Ling's soul was erased by an expert. Hopefully, Yin Wangguang will be appeased. Looks like it's going to be difficult. Let's talk about it after 100 years. Now that the local hell is in chaos, the prison has been broken, and countless evil souls have rushed out. Moreover, the life and death stone in the prison has been taken away by an expert, causing countless souls in hell to have memories. This is going to be troublesome. We need to mobilize the underworld general to suppress them. We must trap them in that level of hell. Otherwise, if they get separated, things will be even more troublesome. I don't know who did it. He's too bold. The underworld will definitely not let him off. The gods of the underworld continued to discuss with furrowed brows, looking extremely worried. At this moment, on the rolling yellow sand, a large number of people were walking forward on the scorching yellow sand. These people all had physical bodies and weren't afraid of the heat. Lord, that's the gate to another level of hell. One of them pointed ahead and said. He was Saint Guy. In front of them, yellow sand was flowing and waves of heat were blowing against their faces. The air was also surging, but they could vaguely see a huge gate. The gate was carved out of mottled rocks and was a few thousand miles tall and 1,000 miles wide. It was extremely majestic. In front of the gate, a large number of underworld experts were guarding it. The security was even tighter than usual. There were underworld soldiers, underworld generals, underworld knights, and even an underworld general. In front of the gate, countless souls were piled up like a mountain. They were densely packed and wanted to rush out of the gate to another level of hell. Now, these departed souls all had memories and knew that this level of hell had been sealed. It wouldn't be long before the experts of the netherworld would come and wipe out all the souls. Therefore they had to escape, cultivate, and grow stronger so that they could escape from the netherworld. However, the experts guarding the gate to the underworld were too powerful. They couldn't rush out. Lord, more and more souls are coming. There are billions of them. This level of hell has completely collapsed. I think it's time for the great reshuffle. Under the gate, a man in armor stood there. He had a powerful aura. He was the underworld general. The underworld general's strength was only below King Yen Luo. He was extremely powerful. Someone beside him said respectfully, "Damn souls. Why didn't they just wait for their reincarnation? Why did they have to cause trouble? Now that the great reshuffle has begun, all of their souls will be destroyed. The pitiful thing is that some souls who are about to reincarnate are also implicated. After all, the great reshuffle has begun. Because all souls will be destroyed, regardless of good or bad." The man said coldly, "Lord, now that many souls have killed the underworld gods and killed many underworld soldiers, they have cultivated their physical bodies. Their strength is not to be underestimated. It will be difficult for us to stop the attack." The underworld soldier said again, "What's there to be afraid of? They are just punks. Without 100 years of cultivation, they won't be able to cultivate anything. Now that they are attacking, they won't be able to break through this gate." The man said disdainfully. A good wine appeared in his hand. He drank it calmly. At the same time, he ordered the underworld soldiers to attack the souls in front of the gate. Of course, this attack was just a drop in the bucket. After all, there were too many souls. They couldn't kill all of them. They could only use the great reshuffle of the underworld. "Open for me." However, at this moment, more than 100 figures flew in the sky and attacked the gate of the underworld. The leader was a white-haired man. His aura was extremely powerful. He was like a giant. Oh no, souls with physical bodies. Seeing more than 100 people, the underworld soldiers at the gate frowned. The underworld commander who was drinking threw down his wine bottle and shouted, "How dare you attack me? Kill them. How dare you?" Hearing his voice, a large number of underworld generals rushed out. Reverse break. However, a cold voice came from the sky. Then, a terrifying soul power turned into a universe and sealed everything. Bang, bang, bang. The souls of the underworld generals who attacked were all sealed. They fell from the sky and were dead. Then, a large number of souls took over their physical bodies. What? The underworld commander's face changed. So strong? He suddenly enlarged. He had 3 heads and 6 arms. Moreover, his 6 arms were extremely long, reaching 1,000 miles. He attacked the white-haired man. Pangu strike, primeval strike. The white-haired man shouted and threw out a punch. It exploded the air and wreaked havoc in hell. Chapter 50-49. Ah! Why is my god power ineffective against you? The netherworld commander shouted. Then, he thought of something and rushed to the stone door. Seal! Seal this level of hell. Don't let anyone in or out. Go. Hearing that, the netherworld soldiers guarding the door were shocked. If the door was sealed, even they would not be able to get out. However, they had no choice but to seal this level of hell. After all, if these dead souls escaped, the entire netherworld would be in chaos. Rumble. At the same time, the stone door emitted a black light that fell from the sky like rain. It was extremely fast. Wherever the black light passed, the aura of the stone door was sealed. It was like a dead object. Oh no! The door is about to be sealed. Seeing this scene, the countless dead souls roared loudly. Ha ha ha! All of you have to die! All of you have to die! In front of the door, the netherworld commander looked like he had gone mad. Swoosh! However, at this moment, a strong wind surged. A figure shot toward the door at the speed of light. It was too fast. It was beyond imagination. The Nether general simply couldn't react. The Nether soldiers that were responsible for sealing the door were still sneering. It wasn't until a figure appeared in front of them that they finally reacted, and their pupils began to tremble. The person who appeared was Lin Ling. He had activated the last level of Pangu's original gambit. Not only was his attack and defense doubled, but his speed was also doubled. Bang! 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 Lin Ling kept punching and killing the netherworld soldiers at the door. Finally, he came to a black stone that was as tall as a man and kicked it like a whip. Bang! The hard black stone was kicked into pieces. At the same time, the door that was turning black suddenly calmed down. The seal was stopped. You! At this moment, the netherworld commander noticed the change behind him. His eyes widened and his face trembled. It was too fast. He did not notice the white-haired man's arrival. After all, he had planned to block the white-haired man's attack from behind. This meant that the difference in strength between him and the white-haired man was too big. Bang! Sure enough, as soon as he made a sound, his chest was pierced. Then, his soul was pulled out and kept struggling. However, Lin Ling did not even look at it. He clenched his hand and the soul was crushed and absorbed by Lin Ling. As for the netherworld commander's body, it was naturally snatched by a large number of dead souls. Lin Ling walked to the door and placed his palms on it. His power exploded. Rumble! Rumble! The thick and heavy door was slowly pushed open, and a wisp of ancient nether wind blew over, passing through the door and reaching the bodies of all the deceased souls. The area in front of the gate suddenly became quiet. Only the wind in the distance was blowing, and the yellow sand was dancing wildly. Is free. Finally, someone yelled out loud. Following that, more and more shouts were heard, and the entire yellow sand was shaken. These dead souls all had memories. Some were gods and some were old monsters who had cultivated for many years. Therefore, they all knew that if they wanted to survive, the only way was to escape from this layer of hell. As long as the dead souls were scattered in all the hells, the netherworld would not be able to hunt them down. They would not be able to massacre all the hells. Everyone, follow us to the other hells and release more people. Only then will we be safer. At this time, a Xianxia king appeared in front of the door. However, everyone knew that this was not a netherworld general but a Xianxia king whose body was possessed by a dead soul. He was Great Emperor Xianxia. We will listen to you. Yes, you are the one who helped us regain our memories. We will listen to you. The dead souls were extremely excited. Our Lord intends to enter the next hells and destroy the prison there to release more dead souls. Do you want to come with us? Great Emperor Xianxia shouted. Yes, we will go together. Overturn hells and create chaos in the netherworld. All the dead souls agreed. They knew that only by releasing more dead souls could they become stronger. Rumble! At this time, the huge door was pushed open. It was white inside. Lin Ling turned to look at the crowd and waved his hand. Come with me. After saying that, Lin Ling was the first to step into the huge door. Let's kill our way in. The group of dead souls followed him in with a murderous aura, disappearing into the white mist. Moreover, there were many dead souls. There were tens of billions of them. In the distance, there were even more dead souls flying over. They were densely packed. Of course, not all the dead souls entered the next hells. There were still many dead souls in this hells. On the other side, Lin Ling and the rest appeared. This hell was called the Hell of Soldiers. It was bigger and more ancient. Of course it was crueler. As long as the dead souls were caught in the hell of soldiers' prison, they would have to face trials and tribulations all day long. The hell of soldiers. Lin Ling looked ahead calmly. The scene in front of him was not a desert. Instead, it was a dark and dense forest. However, it was eerily silent. It was as if there were many monsters that devoured souls hidden in the forest. There are even more underworld gods in this hell. They cultivate with the dead souls. Lin Ling had devoured a piece of life and death stone before. He was familiar with all the hells, especially the hell of soldiers. This was the nightmare of the dead souls. Kill them. Lin Ling stepped out and walked towards the largest hell of soldiers' prison. Kill them. The dead souls behind him also shouted. In the silent forest, those underworld gods who had bad intentions were frightened. They did not understand what was going on and could only secretly escape. What's going on? Why are there so many dead souls suddenly? Could it be that they escaped from somewhere? But there are too many of them. Inform the king of hell. Otherwise, things will be troublesome. These underworld gods were all talking as they escaped. This hell of soldiers' prison was located in an abyss. This abyss was incomparably dark. From time to time, there would be painful groans that would make one's scalp tingle. Lord King of Hell, in the Bloodhouse Forest area, many dead souls suddenly appeared. In the dark abyss, a voice suddenly rang out. Why are there dead souls escaping? Send someone to investigate. An old voice replied. However, very soon, an anxious voice broke the silence of the abyss. Lord, not good. There is news from the underworld. There are souls from other hells coming to our hell. What? Without permission, souls secretly came to our hell. How presumptuous. This is looking down on the rules of the underworld. How many souls are there? Send out Oxhead and Horseface to capture them. According to the news from the underworld, the number of dead souls that entered our hell is hard to calculate. There are at least 100 billion of them. 100 billion? Moreover, the underworld ordered us to be on full alert to prevent the dead souls from attacking our hell prison. Are they crazy? After the underworld created their own hell prison, when did the dead souls dare to attack? Isn't the hell prison a nightmare for the dead souls? They can't even escape. Chapter 50-50. Not good. But at this time, another voice sounded. This anxious voice surpassed all the previous voices. What is happening now? What is going on today? Bad news comes in waves. The Yama King let out an angry voice. He was obviously impatient. The souls of the dead have come to the prison and are attacking the prison. The anxious voice finally shouted. His words caused the entire abyss to fall silent. Attack the prison. Moments later, several Yama Kings shouted in unison, as if they couldn't believe it. This level of prison was no small matter. There were many Yama Kings guarding it. Rumble. At this time, a voice came from above. A dense group of souls of the dead rushed down. They were surrounding a white-haired man with a magnificent aura. All the gods of the underworld looked at the sky, especially the Yama Kings. Their pupils trembled fiercely. A thin man suddenly pointed at the white-haired man and shouted, "It's him!" That year when the underworld wanted to capture Ning Qingxin, that person fought against the underworld. It's him. How could it be him? What? Thatched Yama King, you know him? I'm not the only one who knows him. You all know him too. Do you still remember the person who angered the underworld god? Lin Ling? He's Lin Ling? But didn't the underworld say that Lin Ling's soul has been scattered? Quick, report to the underworld. Say that Lin Ling isn't dead and has broken through hell. The Yama Kings kept shouting. Then, a great battle broke out in the abyss. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. This level of hell was also shaking because of it. After a long time, a large number of figures rushed out from the abyss. The leading white-haired man looked into the distance and said, "Grandpa Treasure God Nan Wu Fengyu, Sakura, Yang Yao, Whitewater Pure Maiden and the others are over there." This man carried a huge nether ore in his hand and flew forward. At the same time, he was refining the nether ore and his strength was increasing crazily. Gradually, his physical strength reached 100 billion. On the man's forehead, 7 ancient stars appeared. 7-star Panga's body. The white-haired man faintly smiled. After landing on the ground, His powerful spiritual strength enveloped everyone, allowing them to recover their memories. Clearly, following the continuous plundering, Lin Ling's strength was also rising. Not only had his physical strength improved, but even his spiritual strength had also skyrocketed. His current strength had already surpassed that of the past. After all, his physical strength alone had attained a strength of 100 billion. After all, physical strength was even more formidable than divinity. Powerful king-level giant universe gods, on the other hand, only had 200 billion godly power at most. If they were to engage in a real battle, they would be on par with Lin Ling's 100 billion godly power of the fleshly body. Moreover, this was under the premise that Lin Ling hadn't used the Pangu strike. Once he used it, his physical strength would double. Lin Ling, it's you. Ha ha ha, Grandpa Treasure God, second brother, Xianxia, everyone is here. I didn't expect that we would reunite again. After a long time, he had found all his friends on this level. Many of the gods below the 4 ancient emperors were also found. Lin Ling's numbers gradually reached 50,000. However, Yu, the Yellow Emperor, and Emperor Shun were ignored. Great Emperor Jun and the others were still nowhere to be found. Most likely, they weren't on this level. Of course, Lin Ling had also released countless departed souls on this level, causing chaos on this level of hell. Countless departed souls escaped with their lives. After a long time, Lin Ling began to search for the door to the next level of hell. Finally, after slaughtering a large number of underworld gods, he successfully entered the next level of hell. This level of hell was called the level of darkness. After 2 levels of hell were broken, the entire underworld was in chaos, as though it was about to collapse. Countless netherworld powerhouses had gathered together for a meeting to discuss the netherworld's great chaos that was rarely seen in billions of years. Who is breaking the laws of hell and disrupting the order of hell? Why are the laws of the underworld ineffective against him? I'm afraid this person isn't someone to be trifled with. He has the ability to evade the great laws of the underworld and infiltrated hell, disrupting the order. Now, countless souls have escaped and killed the underworld generals and Yama kings of hell. It's going to be difficult to subdue all of them. I reckon that hell will remain undisturbed for at least 10,000 years. Voices rang out, and all the kings of hell had grave expressions. The kings of hell were of even higher status than the kings of hell. There were a total of 8 of them. At this moment, their faces were dark, as though they were thinking about something. Logically speaking, how could an ordinary person disrupt hell and ignore the laws of the underworld? This meant that the culprit was extremely powerful, or had a terrifying origin that was beyond the control of hell. I just found out that the culprit is Lin Ling. All of a sudden, an old man walked in with a halo in his hand. The halo shone with multicolored light, forming images of the white-haired man slaughtering the prisoners in the hell prison. Lin Ling. At this moment, all the kings of hell stood up, and their eyes were trembling. They naturally knew about Lin Ling. It was said that this person had been opposing the underworld for a long time. He was even specifically named by the god of the underworld. If Lin Ling entered hell, he would give Lin Ling great trials and tribulations. However, before the trials and tribulations could begin, Lin Ling suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, the entire underworld was in chaos. Why is Lin Ling not dead? How did he escape from the mark of the underworld? This Lin Ling, it is said that he was incomparably powerful when he was alive. I didn't expect him to have such skills after death. Kings of hell, I think you will be mobilized. If the god of the underworld knows about this, he will be furious. It is possible that he will wash the underworld with blood. At that time, the laws of the underworld will come, and all the departed souls and deities of the underworld will be reshuffled. We will also die. Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling, you are truly formidable. Our underworld taking you in is like releasing a rabid dog in our own home. The kings of hell continued to speak. 8 kings of hell stood up at the same time, their powerful auras filling the air. Not good. Lin Ling has brought many departed souls into the underworld of Crow Dusk. He is attacking the prison there. The kings of hell are asking for help. They probably won't be able to hold on for much longer. At this time, a frightened voice rang out. Then, an underworld marshal rushed in and said to the crowd. As these words fell, the hall fell into a deathly silence. An oppressive atmosphere filled the air. Bastard! One of the underworld kings slammed the table, causing the entire hall to sway. Lin Ling. How does he know the location of our prison? He seems to be familiar with the laws of the underworld. It is the life and death stone. He has devoured the life and death stone of every hell. Someone immediately guessed. Quickly stop him. If he's allowed to run amok, then the netherworld will be turned upside down by him. Several underworld kings prepared to leave the hall and head to the underworld of Crow Dusk. Chapter 50-51. The three hells have been destroyed. When the voice drifted out, the entire hall became even more silent. Cold sweat dripped down everyone's forehead. In such a short period of time, 3 hells had been destroyed. Was this Lin Ling really a dead soul? Or did he enter the underworld with the same cultivation level as before he died? There's no time to lose. Kill him quickly. The underworld king solemnly said, knowing that this matter could not be delayed any longer. At this time, Lin Ling led everyone away from the Hell of Black Man. The entire hell prison had been destroyed by him, and his cultivation level had increased once again. Moreover, he had refined the life and death stones, so Lin Ling was more familiar with the underworld. The amount of nether ores in this hell prison was beyond imagination, allowing Lin Ling's physical strength to reach the 200 billion level. However, what shocked Lin Ling was that Panga's body was still at the 7-star level. It seemed that breaking through to the 7-star level was no longer easy. However, Lin Ling was still satisfied. After obtaining Pangu, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Now, his overall strength had not only surpassed that of the past, but he could also kill any king-level universe god with his full strength. He could even kill many saints. Everyone come back. Moreover, after devouring the 3 life and death stones, Lin Ling's soul power had also increased. It had reached the 3 million level. His powerful soul power spread out and returned the memories of all the dead souls he met along the way, causing the entire hell prison to be filled with wandering dead souls. Lin Ling. Ha ha ha, it's Lin Ling. The Yellow Emperor, Emperor Shun, and the others had been found by Lin Ling, and they were all incomparably happy. After that, An Yuer, Xian Yuangu and the others were also found. Everyone, come back. Lin Ling was also incomparably happy. After careful calculation, he found that there were still many souls that could not be found. There were 2 reasons for this. First, they were not in this layer of hell. Secondly, the other party had already reincarnated. This also caused Lin Ling to frown slightly. If they were not in this layer of hell, then he would have to travel through all the hells to find the remaining people. At that time, he would definitely have to face the entire underworld. Even though his current strength was very strong, he was clearly aware that it was utterly impossible for him to go against the entire netherworld by himself. Lin Ling, we have to charge out of the netherworld. Otherwise, if we stay here, we will be killed by the netherworld sooner or later. The Yellow Emperor said to Lin Ling. Even though the underworld was in chaos right now, the Yellow Emperor knew that if the underworld really attacked, all the dead souls would be suppressed. There was no way they could fight against the underworld. Disregarding everything else, just the underworld's great law alone was not something that anyone could resist. Yes. Now, let's try to enter the next level of hell and save as many people as we can. Lin Ling nodded. He felt that time was of the essence. Moreover, even if he saved everyone, leaving this place was still a huge problem. After spending a lot of time, Lin Ling released all the dead souls and left this layer of hell. Among the countless dead souls released by Lin Ling, there were some that Lin Ling knew. These people came from the rainforest's sacred land. When they saw Lin Ling, they were undoubtedly shocked. Back in the rainforest's sacred land, Lin Ling was their legend. Who would have thought that after his death, Lin Ling would still be able to lead them against the underworld? Unfortunately, Lin Ling knew that time was of the essence, so he did not have time to greet them. After charging out of this layer of hell, they arrived at the next one. This was hell where light resided. Not only was this layer of hell larger, but it also had a large number of underworld deities. When Lin Ling and the rest appeared in this layer of hell, a large number of underworld deities were also looking at them. Among them, 4 powerful underworld kings floated in the sky, looking at each other coldly. Lin Ling, we have been waiting for you for so long. A low voice floated out. These 4 underworld kings were all comparable to a saint giant universe god. Their deity energies were incomparably terrifying, reaching the 300 billion mark. Of course, if placed in the Tao Tower, this level of strength would only be considered above average. However, this was the underworld. Any deity who entered this place would not have the strength to face a saint giant universe god. Moreover, if Lin Ling was still alive, he might not be able to win against a saint giant universe god. Underworld kings. Lin Ling had devoured the life and death stone, so he knew the origins of these 4 underworld kings. Lin Ling, it's time for your tricks to end. Are you going to surrender or let us kill you? The 4 underworld kings had different appearances and wore different armors. Some had long arms, while others had horns on their heads. With just you guys? Let your underworld gods come. Lin Ling secretly informed the Yellow Emperor and the rest, telling them to prepare for a fight to the death. After all, apart from Lin Ling himself, the others on his side were very weak. Perhaps only Saint Guy was a bit stronger. The Yellow Emperor and the rest were very strong when they were alive, but they had just regained their memories, so their strength had not recovered at all. Impudent! You've stirred up hell and still dare to speak such arrogant words. Wait until we suppress you in Suffering Mountain. Then you'll regret it. Living is such a painful thing. Kill! The 4 underworld kings shouted. With a wave of their arms, a large number of underworld deities behind them rushed toward Lin Ling and the rest. These deities were born and bred in the underworld. They were also from an ancient race, and there were many yakshas and underworld soldiers among them. Fight! Lin Ling shouted. His white hair danced wildly, and his physical strength erupted as he was the first to rush forward. The departed souls behind him were originally trembling with fear, but in the end, they knew that if they lost, their souls would be scattered, so they all fought with their lives on the line. Although in terms of strength, they were no match for the underworld deities, they had the advantage in numbers. Rumble! In the sky, a terrifying underworld war broke out. In a short period of time, countless departed souls fell, and countless underworld deities were killed. Blood rained down like rain, and white bones were piled up everywhere. The souls were as dense as mist. This battle was as fierce as the great war of gods and demons. It was estimated that millions of years later, no one in the underworld would forget this battle, and it would be recorded in the annals of history. Of course, what would be recorded in the annals of history was more about how the demon Lin Ling stirred up the underworld, and how he was killed by countless underworld deities in the end. Bang bang bang! Lin Ling's physical strength erupted, and 7 stars appeared on his forehead. His body grew infinitely taller, and he turned into a towering giant. Rumble! He punched out, and countless underworld deities were killed by his punch. Apart from the underworld kings, no one could stop Lin Ling. Hee hee, that's all you've got? Too weak. On the opposite side, a underworld king's body also grew rapidly, and he turned into a giant. His body was pitch black, as if he was condensed from black gold, and his black was dazzling. As he punched, a black hole appeared, and 81 hells also appeared, blasting toward Lin Ling. Humph, in the underworld I am the great law. You want to fight me head-on? You're courting death. Chapter 50-52. At this moment, Lin Ling also used the primeval gambit. His physical strength doubled, his speed doubled, and he even gained immunity to the power of divinity. His fist seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth apart. After colliding with the Nether King, it actually broke through his opponent's black hole and shattered it. What's going on? You don't have pure physical strength. The Nether King roared. When his fist collided with Lin Ling's, he immediately sensed an unstoppable force. He originally thought that Lin Ling was only formidable in terms of physical strength. In terms of physical strength, he didn't fear him at all. Moreover, this was the underworld. The great laws were there to help them. However, after they collided, he discovered that Lin Ling's strength didn't come from the strength of his mortal body. There was also a strange strength hidden within his body that seemed to be able to split apart the heavens and earth, unaffected by any laws. Ka-ka-ka! The Nether King's arm emitted the sound of breaking bones as it was shattered by Lin Ling's fist. Help me! He roared out loud. The other 3 Nether Kings' complexions changed. They didn't think that Lin Ling would be so strong. How was this still a spirit? This was more like a god from the Tao Pagoda. They instantly realized that relying on ordinary methods wouldn't be able to harm Lin Ling. They turned into streams of light that shot towards the Nether King with a severed arm. Then they fused into his body. Some turned into thick armor, some turned into a black saber, and some turned into a severed arm. The 4 Nether Kings fused into one, causing the original Nether King to grow even larger. Lin Ling. The Yellow Emperor and the others were fighting the underworld gods. As they saw this scene, they were incomparably worried. They wished they could fight alongside Lin Ling. However, they knew that the current them simply didn't have the qualifications to participate in such an intense battle. Lord Yellow Emperor, Lord Lei Gong, Lord Lin Ling has been searching for us ever since he entered the underworld. Now that we've been reunited, it's all because of him. Xianxia was also watching the battle. He knew that this battle was incomparably critical. It concerned whether or not they could escape the underworld. Lin Ling, and Yuer, Shen Yuan Guer, and the others were extremely worried. They never thought that they would be able to reunite with everyone in this lifetime. However, they knew very well that the person who gave them this opportunity was that fearless man who fought the heavens and fought the earth. Especially when they saw the white-haired man fighting with all his might, their hearts ached even more. It was this man who had found them. It was this man who had supported them. Even if the merciless laws of the universe descended upon them, this man still dared to go against the universe for them. Rumble. Under the joint attack of the 4 Nether Kings, Lin Ling was sent flying. He vomited blood continuously, and a large amount of blood gushed out from his body. While he was flying backward, he smashed a large number of underworld deities and souls to death. This was just like the most ancient war between giants. If ordinary people got close and were implicated, they would only have a slim chance of survival. Lin Ling, what are you being arrogant for? You dare to go against the underworld? We'll let you be proud for now. The gigantic Nether King, who was formed by the 4 Nether Kings, roared in disdain. He pounced on Lin Ling, and a gigantic black blade descended from the sky, wanting to slash Lin Ling. Lin Ling had just crawled up from the ground when he sensed the terrifying slash in the sky. His expression changed drastically, and he raised his hand to block. Rumble. The huge saber smashed down, but it was blocked by Lin Ling's arm. The black saber was stuck in his bones, and blood continued to gush out. Bang! 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 Behind Lin Ling, the black saber's power did not decrease, and it cut through countless mountains and forests. Ha ha ha, Lin Ling, how can you be so weak? The giant Nether King said disdainfully. The black saber in his hand released a terrifying aura, and his divine power turned into 8,000. Swoosh! An ear-piercing sound rang out. Lin Ling's arm was cut off, and blood spurted out like a river, splattering on the earth of hell. Rumble! Lin Ling's body flew backward, and he smashed through countless mountains. Lin Ling and Yuer and the rest were among the countless dead souls, and they were even more worried. Emperor Xuanxu and the rest were also anxious. Lin Ling was their backbone now. If Lin Ling died, all of them would die. Everyone, don't be distracted. Block the attack of the underworld. The Yellow Emperor also stared at Lin Ling in the distance, but he also shouted to the crowd, "Don't worry, Lin Ling will win." When the dead souls heard his voice, although they were still uneasy, they knew that it was their responsibility to fight against the underworld deities. They were no match for the Nether King of the underworld, and they were not qualified to face him. Ha ha ha, a bunch of idiots. Originally, you were doing things according to the rules of the underworld, and you wouldn't have died. Now, you have been bewitched by Lin Ling, and all of you are going to die. The giant Nether King sneered disdainfully. You are so reliant on Lin Ling, right? Fine, I will cut off Lin Ling's head in front of all of you. After saying that, he strode towards Lin Ling. His footsteps rumbled, and the earth continued to tremble. In the distance, Lin Ling was still smashed on the ground, breathing heavily. He was seriously injured, and his body was covered in blood. It was about to turn into a huge lake. However, after his arm was cut off, it looked like he had no strength to fight back. The giant Nether King came in front of Lin Ling and looked down at Lin Ling. How pitiful. If you had obediently endured the torture of the Silver Light, at least you wouldn't have died. At most, you would have been reincarnated continuously. But now, you have offended the underworld, and your soul has been scattered, disappearing from the universe forever. Silver Light. Lin Ling, who was lying on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes, and a murderous aura filled the air. He thought of the crazy Silver Moon Patriarch. He thought of the lunatic who killed his family and friends in front of him. He also thought of the fact that if this powerful giant god of the universe didn't die, they would never have a good life. Die for me. Universe 3 Extreme Destruction, Reverse Extreme Destruction. Lin Ling roared, and the soul force that he had been hiding suddenly burst out, sealing the giant Nether King. The sudden soul force undoubtedly caught the Nether King off guard. He was instantly sealed, and his consciousness went blank. However, the combined bodies of the 4 Nether Kings were indeed powerful. Lin Ling's strongest Universe 3 Extreme Destruction couldn't kill them instantly. Bang! But at this time, Lin Ling's right hand slammed on the ground, and his body soared into the sky. Then, he smashed down like a meteor, and his other hand slammed down, ruthlessly landing on the giant Nether King's head. Die for me! Lin Ling looked down from above, and a powerful force poured into his palm as he crazily attacked. Ah! Lin Ling, you still have strength. The giant Nether King roared, and his eyes alternated between black and white. His body kept twitching as he fought against Lin Ling. At this moment, the battle in the distance stopped. Everyone held their breaths as they watched the battle between the 2 giants in shock. Silverlight, you didn't die. How can Lin Ling, die here? Lin Ling, who was in the air, activated all his strength and suppressed the Nether King. Moreover, his powerful soul force was also activated. He and the Nether King were in a race of life and death. They wanted to see who could last longer. Without a doubt, the one who could last longer would be the winner today. Boom! Chapter 50-53. Boiling brains and blood fell from the sky to the ground like the water of an ocean, dyeing hell red. A huge headless corpse stood on the ground like a pillar, but it had no aura. Above its head, another giant maintained its posture of grabbing down. A terrifying force surged out from the giant's palm and landed on the headless corpse, causing the thick nether armor to crack. Rumble! The headless corpse's saber fell to the ground, spreading dust everywhere. Pop! 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 The headless corpse's body began to melt, turning into water that flowed into the giant's palm. Whether it was the dead souls or the gods of the underworld, everyone was staring at this scene. For a moment, hell was silent. It was as if they had seen the most unbelievable thing. 4 Nether Kings working together had actually been killed. The underworld is in chaos. Moments later, the gods of the underworld roared. Everyone was in a panic, trembling in fear as they fled in all directions. My lord! Xianxia, the Yellow Emperor, and the others finally reacted and roared in excitement. After all, everyone knew that this battle was crucial to their survival and whether they could escape from the hands of the underworld. However, the white-haired man won. Although most of the dead souls did not know the white-haired man's background, no one expected him to be so powerful that even the underworld kings were no match for him. Lin Ling and Yue and Shen Yuanguo looked at each other, tears welling up in their eyes. Now that they had defeated the underworld kings, it had bought them a lot of time. As long as they found Yu and the others, all that was left was to figure out how to leave this place. Boom! At this moment, the headless corpse exploded, its flesh and blood being absorbed by the white-haired man. The white-haired man roared at the sky, shaking hell and causing countless ghosts to tremble. Kill! After an unknown period of time, the white-haired man stopped roaring and led everyone into this level of hell's prison. Without a doubt, this level of hell could not stop them. Not a single soul was left, and the entire hell was in chaos. Lin Ling swallowed the 4th life and death stone and finally found Yu and the others. What shocked Lin Ling was that Yu and the others had reincarnated. They were not in the underworld, but in the human world. Damn it! When Lin Ling heard the news, he was in a bad mood and released all the dead souls on this level. However, just as he was about to rob the next level of hell, a huge army suddenly appeared and stopped all the dead souls. Another expert from the underworld was on the move. All the dead souls looked at the figure that suddenly appeared with a serious expression. They all knew that the underworld had set their sights on them ever since the infernal realm had been breached one after another. They were constantly sending people to kill them. Lin! The Yellow Emperor and the others were beside Lin Ling, looking ahead with a serious expression. The clouds in front of them were boundless, occupying more than half of the sky and earth. In the thick clouds, a large number of indistinct shadows appeared, slowly moving forward. There were tall and short shadows, but they were incomparably huge. That feeling was as if there were countless mountains moving in the fog. Very strong, Xianxia suddenly said. Although he didn't know where they came from, those shadows gave him a dignified feeling. This feeling had not appeared even when he faced the underworld king. The underworld is vast. Other than the gods led by the underworld god, there are many unknown ancient races and the most ancient universe god. Lin Ling also stared ahead and muttered. The fog was still rolling, but the world was very quiet, so quiet that it was oppressive. Only the huge shadows were approaching. Finally, the shadows walked out of the fog. What was shocking was that what appeared in front of them was the shape of 100 beasts. The reason why it was called 100 beasts was because these shadows were not only huge, but they were also half human and half beast. Their size was terrifying. If they were in the 9 prefectures, 100 beasts would be as big as a prefecture in the 9 prefectures. Not to mention, there were so many beasts here. It's the underworld beasts, a mysterious race of the underworld. Lin Ling had devoured the life and death stone and knew some of the history of the underworld, so he said in a low voice. At the head of the 100 beasts was a huge mammoth. This mammoth was covered in fur and its size was comparable to the universe. Compared to it, the dead souls were as small as flies. The mammoth had 2 long tusks that emitted a white light. When the dead souls stared at the white light, they immediately felt their souls become unstable. Only with a physical body could they barely resist it. Destructive divine mammoth. Staring at the huge mammoth, Lin Ling's voice became more serious. The destructive divine mammoth was said to be an incomparably terrifying existence in the underworld. It was not under the jurisdiction of the underworld god and specialized in devouring dead souls, suppressing evil spirits, and guarding the order of the underworld. Rumor had it that the destructive divine mammoth was not an underworld beast, but was formed by the laws of the underworld. Some people said that the destructive divine mammoth was the mount of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. After Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva disappeared, it was responsible for guarding hell and clearing the hell of demons. Lin Ling, do you have to violate the laws of the universe and disturb the underworld? The huge mammoth stared at Lin Ling and suddenly spoke in human language. Its voice was very strange. It was neither male nor female, neither human nor beast. No one could tell what it was. This voice floated over like the wind, causing the dead souls behind Lin Ling to tremble and show signs of collapse. Natural enemy. This is our natural enemy. Many dead souls roared and already had thoughts of retreating. In the face of their natural enemy, no matter how powerful they were, it was useless. It was like facing the laws of the underworld. No powerful god could resist the laws of the universe. Everyone, leave. Go wherever you can. Lin Ling stared ahead. He knew that this was a calamity even greater than the underworld king, so he roared, "Run! Go to other hells. We can't win at all." Many dead souls were restless. They wanted nothing more than to escape from this level of hell immediately. Then some dead souls fled. Gradually, more and more of them fled in all directions like locusts, causing the heaven and earth to be incomparably spectacular. Of course, there were also many dead souls who did not escape. They were still behind Lin Ling, swearing to live and die with Lin Ling. Lin Ling had broken through hell, released them, and given them precious memories, so they did not want to leave. There were still more than 300 billion souls left. Of course, compared to the dead souls that fled, this was already a very small portion. However, the netherworld beasts led by the destructive divine mammoth did not care about the fleeing dead souls. To them, the devil of hell was Lin Ling. As long as Lin Ling was destroyed, the underworld would definitely be peaceful. As for the fleeing dead souls, they could not escape for long. The underworld and hell would be cleansed, and these dead souls would also die. Lin Ling, you have violated the laws of the underworld and disturbed the order. I will suppress you. Do you submit? Chapter 50-54. How can I accept this? Lin Ling said coldly, I want to find my family and friends. If I can't find them, I'll turn the underworld upside down. If I can't find them in a year, I'll make the underworld suffer injustice for a year. You might be able to suppress me, but if I find a chance, as long as I don't die, I'll still turn the underworld upside down. Lin Ling's voice was very loud, and it was filled with determination. How dare you? Loud roars came from the destructive divine mammoth. However, Lin Ling's white hair danced wildly. He was unmoved. He stood in the sky and stared at the destructive divine mammoth. His eyes were cold, like the combination of ice and fire. It also represented his burning heart. You want me to let you leave the underworld? Finally, the destructive divine mammoth spoke. That's right. If you don't let us leave, the underworld will suffer injustice. Lin Ling replied coldly. Impossible. You, Lin Ling, are already dead. How can you leave the underworld? If you want to break the rules of the underworld, let's see if you have the strength to do so. Suppress him. The destructive divine mammoth's voice became dignified. Countless underworld beasts began to attack Lin Ling. Everyone be careful. Lin Ling shouted at the Yellow Emperor and the others. He didn't let them escape because Lin Ling knew that they could escape this time, but they definitely wouldn't be able to escape the next time. As long as they were in the underworld, they would never be able to escape. Therefore this battle was the real key. It was even more crucial than the previous battle with the underworld king. Lin Ling activated the Panga's true body and turned into a giant to fight against the countless underworld beasts. Now, he'd refined the Nether King and countless nether ores of hell. His physical strength had already reached the 400 billion mark. If he used the Panga's true body, his strength would double. In fact, if Lin Ling hadn't been in a hurry to leave the underworld, his strength would have increased faster if he had stayed in the underworld to grow rapidly. After all, he could be unscrupulous in the underworld and plunder whatever he wanted. Rumble! The underworld beasts teamed up to fight Lin Ling, causing the heavens to fall and the earth to rend. The Yellow Emperor and the others in the distance all stayed far away, deeply afraid of being implicated. After all, if they were implicated, they would all be wiped out, and no one would be able to stop it. Fight! Lin Ling's white hair danced wildly. He was like an ancient giant, relying on his fists to bombard the underworld beast. However, these underworld beasts were also extremely powerful. They could withstand Lin Ling's punch head-on and remain unscathed. It should be known that with Lin Ling's current strength, there were probably not many saint-level universe giant gods who could withstand his attack. Even if Lin Ling had Yin Wan Guang, he would still be able to hold his own against Yin Wan Guang with his powerful physical body. He would not be at a disadvantage at all. This meant that these nether beasts were not much weaker than Yin Wan Guang. It's that corpse! The gigantic destructive divine mammoth did not move as it watched the intense battle calmly. Its eyes flickered with shock. It knew that the most ancient bloodline was hidden in the netherworld, and it was the only one. However, it did not expect that such a well-hidden corpse would be obtained by Lin Ling. Could it be that Lin Ling had gone to the Dizong Palace? Wasn't he a soul? How could he have obtained such a valuable treasure after entering the netherworld for such a short period of time and being chased by the netherworld? Even the underworld god was looking for this corpse, but he failed. However, he obtained it. What did he rely on? The destructive divine mammoth was getting more and more shocked. It realized that Lin Ling was really powerful. If he was given more time, the netherworld might really be overturned by him. Lin Ling! The destructive divine mammoth roared. It finally decided to attack. It stretched out its trunk and swept it fiercely at Lin Ling. Rumble! Hell shook. The terrifying thing was that although the trunk was not fast and looked very ordinary, the moment it was thrown out, it had a ferocious demonic power. Lin Ling's pupils shrank, and he immediately punched out with both fists. He sensed that although the trunk seemed ordinary, it actually contained the profoundness of the netherworld's laws. A light movement was actually infinitely profound. It was a symbol of all things changing, of life and death. Rumble! The two fists collided with the huge trunk. Lin Ling immediately felt his fists shatter. His bones cracked, and blood spurted out. So powerful! Lin Ling was shocked. Suppress it! At the same time, the destructive divine mammoth roared, making the surrounding underworld beasts attack Lin Ling crazily. As a result, Lin Ling could no longer resist. However, at that moment, Guang Chengzi, who had been watching from the sidelines, finally attacked. The terrifying flipping sky seal appeared and fought against the surrounding underworld beasts. With a smash, it killed a huge underworld beast. Indeed, someone is helping you. The destructive divine mammoth roared angrily. It had long found it strange. Lin Ling was a dead soul and had been cleansed by the netherworld 3 times. It was impossible for him to recover his strength and memories. Now, all the mysteries were clear. It turned out that someone was helping him. Old Taoist, are you still not coming out? Haven't you waited so long for this moment? After Guang Qingzi appeared, he said indifferently. Haha, since you've spoken, I have no choice but to come out. Another stream of light appeared on Lin Ling's body and turned into a human figure. It was a Taoist in a long green robe. He had an arrogant aura, his hair was tied up, and his eyes were sharp. The moment he appeared, the destructive divine mammoth's eyes changed. The two gods who had suddenly appeared gave it a very, very strong feeling. Immortal slaying. The green-robed Taoist was mysterious and unfathomable. His strength was even more heaven-defying. With a swing of the flying knife in his hand, he killed 2 underworld beasts. One had to know that these underworld beasts were not much weaker than Yin Wanguang. To kill 2 underworld beasts with a flying knife, this heaven-defying strength was hundreds of times stronger than Lin Ling and Yin Wanguang. So strong. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. He knew who the green-robed Taoist was. He was a prisoner in one of the 3 highest-level cells in the square prison. The 3 cells belonged to the Monkey King, Guang Qingzi, and the last one belonged to the green-robed Taoist. Your Excellency, you must be the ruler who created the world. The destructive divine mammoth also stared at the green-robed Taoist. Its voice turned serious. However, Lin Ling has disrupted the order of the underworld. He must be suppressed. Even the ruler here can't do anything. The destructive divine mammoth targeted Lin Ling. It seemed to know who was the cause of hell's unfairness. As long as this factor was suppressed, hell would have eternal peace. It stuck its nose out and inhaled at Lin Ling. A powerful suction force erupted, as if it was the power of the universe. Oh no! Lin Ling's arms had just recovered when they were immediately enveloped by the powerful suction force. Even though he resisted with all his might, he could not break through the suction force. When the surrounding underworld beasts saw this, they frantically pounced at Guang Qingzi and Guang Qingzi in an attempt to stop them. Although they were killed until blood flowed like a river, and their huge bones continued to smash to the ground, they were still fearless of death. Without the help of Guang Qingzi and Guang Qingzi, Lin Ling could no longer resist. He was sucked into the nose. Universe. I've entered the destructive divine mammoth's universe. Just as it entered the nose, Lin Ling sensed that something was amiss. He discovered that he was constantly shrinking, turning into dust and entering the universe. In the universe, countless fiends and wraiths were suppressed. They were all the wraiths in the history of the underworld. The destructive divine mammoth's universe specializes in suppressing fiends. How can I resist it? Chapter 50-55. Wang, wang, wang. Deafening elephant trumpeting sounded, causing Lin Ling to feel as though his body had become extremely heavy. His soul felt like it was about to explode. It's the elephant trumpeting. Lin Ling's pupils constricted. These elephant trumpeting are used to suppress the evil spirits of hell. Legend has it that once the elephant trumpeting is used, any evil spirit's soul will dissipate. Although I'm not an evil spirit, I'm still affected. However, I have the strongest physical body, so why should I be afraid of the elephant trumpeting? Lin Ling's expression was cold as he floated forward. Worlds appeared in front of him, and each world represented a level of hell. And around the hell's tribulation, white mist filled the air, as though there was no end. Lin Ling's brows were tightly furrowed. He did not rush forward but instead flew forward along with the white mist. At the same time, he was constantly recovering his strength. During this process, the deafening elephant trumpeting constantly sounded. It was deafening as it wreaked havoc on Lin Ling's body. In the beginning, Lin Ling found it unbearable. However, with his powerful physical body, he gradually adapted to it. Lin Ling even felt that although his physical strength did not increase, it was more condensed. He did not know how long he flew for. He did not know if it was a year or 10 years. However, there was still no end in the white mist. Only the elephant trumpeting continued, and the sound gradually became louder. It seems that if I want to leave this place, the only way is to enter hell. Finally, Lin Ling stopped and looked at the endless hell beneath him. Hell was like a spherical universe. It was surrounded by thick white mist. When ordinary people came here, they naturally did not want to enter hell. They wanted to escape through the white mist, but the result was that it was not the way out. Instead, under the constant elephant trumpeting, they would be blasted to death. And the reason why Lin Ling could last so long was because of his powerful physical body. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, Lin Ling shot into the endless hell. Save me, save me! Just as he entered, a large number of hoarse voices sounded. Looking down, The ground was filled with withered demons. It was extremely terrifying. Scram! Lin Ling punched out, constantly smashing apart these demons. These demons had experienced the torment of hell for many years and were already on the verge of death. More than half of them were killed by Lin Ling's punch. And just like that, Lin Ling slaughtered his way through. It was as if he had slaughtered his way through hell. However, this place was indeed worthy of being called the Endless Hell. There were endless amounts of demons. In the end, Lin Ling felt his hands go soft from all the killing. He activated the Panga body and continued to attack. Time passed just like that. 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Only then did Lin Ling realize why he couldn't come out after entering hell. It was because he could only fight for the rest of his life after being imprisoned here. Otherwise, he could only turn into those withered demons. However, no matter how powerful a god was, it was impossible for them to fight forever. Moreover, even though he was in hell, the elephant's trumpeting continued to resound, affecting Lin Ling. If this continues, I'll be trapped here forever. Once I'm weak and turn into one of these demons, I won't be able to turn over a new leaf. Lin Ling's gaze swept around. There were withered demons rushing towards him from all directions. Although they weren't fast, they filled the sky, making it impossible for him to avoid them. Facing such a situation, Lin Ling didn't dare to waste too much energy. He could only keep dodging. Only when he had no other choice did he start a massacre. Moreover, Lin Ling discovered that soul power was ineffective against these demons. It was as if they didn't have souls. Right, the sword of faith. Let's see if I can cut open this world. Lin Ling thought about all the magical powers he had learned in his life. Finally, his attention fell on the sword of faith. This was his final trump card. Come out! The sword of faith appeared in Lin Ling's hand. Without further ado, he ruthlessly slashed forward. After all, the longer he stayed here, the more dangerous it would be. And if the sword of faith was ineffective, then Lin Ling could only turn into a demon and be suppressed here forever. Swoosh! The white sword was even more powerful than before. The main reason was that Lin Ling had destroyed the underworld and released countless souls of the dead. He had long become the faith of the souls of the dead. Therefore, compared to before, the sword of faith's power had more than doubled. As the sword slashed forward, heaven and earth were sliced apart. Countless demons turned into nothingness. What was strange was that cracks appeared in just a 10-meter radius. This meant that this universe wasn't very big. It was only a 10-meter radius. However, it moved along with Lin Ling, creating an illusion that it was infinitely magnificent. As soon as the crack appeared, Lin Ling hurriedly rushed over and shot into the crack. When he reappeared, he was in front of a cave. In front of the cave was an open space with a chessboard. 2 figures were sitting there playing chess. Upon closer inspection, he saw that they were an old man and a young man. They were motionless as if they were statues. Looking at the surroundings, it was actually full of corpses. It was extremely strange. What's this? Lin Ling frowned. He entered the destructive divine mammoth and saw 2 people playing chess? Was this still hell? As a precaution, Lin Ling didn't move around carelessly, nor did he enter the cave. This was because he realized that the entrance to the cave was also full of corpses. He looked at the 2 people playing chess and realized that they hadn't moved at all. They were really like stone statues. 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Time here was very slow. However, when everything stopped, it felt like it passed very quickly. What's going on? Lin Ling kept looking at them but realized that they still hadn't moved. It wasn't until this day that Lin Ling realized that the old man had made a move. He had made a move. They're alive. Lin Ling's heart trembled violently. For a long time, he thought that the old man and young man were stone statues or even illusions because they hadn't moved at all. But now, he finally knew that they were real people. Following that, Lin Ling looked at the corpses around him and pondered. His eyes became brighter and brighter. These people are all demons. Like me, they found a way to rush in here and then played chess with the young man. However, in the long process of playing chess, they all died here. These corpses are the losers. And the only one still playing chess is that old man. The more Lin Ling thought about it, the more astonished he was. His intuition told him that the corpses that had died here were probably here since the underworld first opened. I've lost. At that moment, the old man sighed and finally stood up. Following that, his body began to wither as though he had reached the end of his lifespan. He looked at Lin Ling and shook his head. Young man, you're the last person. Remember, you have to be patient. Don't make a careless move. Find a way to resist your opponent before you make your move. I've been here for many years. I've seen many people think about how to play chess but forget how to resist. After saying that, the old man gradually disappeared and turned into a pile of bones. It's your turn. At that moment, the young man looked at Lin Ling and smiled. Lin Ling pondered for a moment. He walked to the side of the chessboard and looked at it calmly. And this was chess, and it was the endgame. Chapter 50-56. I can beat him in 5 moves. However, the old man said not to take a single move. This means that the seemingly certain win situation can change at any time. There are so many corpses here. Their chess skills are higher than mine, but they all died in the end. This explains everything. Am I going to lose? That's not right. With so many people playing chess, someone must have the idea of losing, but they still died. Lin Ling's eyes kept flickering, and he did not take a single step. The young man opposite him smiled at Lin Ling and urged, "You go first." Lin Ling ignored him. "You go first." The young man opposite him kept urging him, neither slow nor slow like a gentleman. Lin Ling was not stupid. He let him call him. Anyway, he could not see anything now, so he might as well just stay there. With this thought in mind, Lin Ling also secretly cultivated. Time continued to flow. 3,000 years had passed, but Lin Ling still did not take a single step. The young man opposite him also kept asking Lin Ling to take a move. His mouth was dry from all the talking, but Lin Ling still did not move. He did not know if the young man was a human or a law. If he was a human, he would probably be cursing in his heart. After all, regardless of winning or losing, you should at least take a step. What's the point of wasting time? No matter how I move, I'm sure I'll lose. By the way, the old man said that I have to find a way to resist. Only then can I take the first step and the way to resist. Could it be that this is the universe? This young man has the ability to change the chessboard because he's in his own universe and is omnipotent. If I want to resist him, I have to have my own universe and be omnipotent. Only then can I resist him. On this day, Lin Ling's eyes quietly focused. All these years, although he had been cultivating non-stop, he had also been constantly thinking of various methods. He had thought of all kinds of methods. Now he thought of the universe. But this is the netherworld. How can we find the Lin Ling universe? Lin Ling fell into deep thought again. He suddenly thought of the Tao Origin Heavenly Mandate. Currently, he was the only person in the entire netherworld who possessed the Tao Origin Heavenly Mandate. What if he used the Tao Origin Heavenly Mandate to find the Tao Pagoda, and then used the Tao Pagoda to find Lin Ling's universe? Thinking of this, Lin Ling hurriedly comprehended the Heavenly Tao. Of course, if he wanted to find the Tao Pagoda with the help of the Tao returning to heaven, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, Lin Ling had enough patience. If he couldn't find it in one day, then he would wait for 10 years. If he couldn't find it in 10 years, then he would wait for 100 years or 1,000 years. Sooner or later, he would find it. You go first. You go first. The young man continued to urge Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling had already entered the Grand Mist Energy, searching for the Tao Pagoda. He could not hear what he was saying at all. After an unknown period of time, Lin Ling finally sensed the Tao Pagoda. It was as if he had found his own thread among the thousands of threads. It's here. Lin Ling used the heavenly Tao returning to heaven to rush into the threads. When he reappeared, he found himself in the cemetery, under the snow maple tree where he had buried the heavenly Tao returning to heaven. I'm back. Lin Ling was shocked. Looking at this familiar scene, he became excited. He was finally back. He was also the first person to reach the Tao Pagoda from the underworld. Of course, what appeared in the Tao Pagoda was a trace of his consciousness. Since I'm back, I can use the heavenly Tao returning to heaven to try my luck in the Lin Ling universe. After a long time, Lin Ling continued to search. In the cemetery, he continued to comprehend. After an unknown period of time, he finally found a trace of familiarity. It was the Lin Ling universe, and this feeling was getting stronger and stronger. He saw his grandfather, Lin Yi, and everyone in Lei Gong's hall. However, the Lin Ling universe was still safe and sound. Everything was as usual. Fellow Taoist, return. Lin Ling's consciousness had returned, so it was difficult for him to control the Lin Ling universe. He called out to the universe. Fellow Taoist, you're back. Doppelgangers appeared and looked at Lin Ling in shock. Bring the Lin Ling universe to my consciousness. Lin Ling did not want to waste too much time here, so he said anxiously to his doppelgangers. Fellow Taoist, we will help you with all our strength. The doppelgangers nodded. Now, these doppelgangers had reached the peak of the superior deity level. Moreover, the laws of the universe were incomparably powerful. Then, these doppelgangers followed Lin Ling's consciousness and left. After a long journey, they returned to the Dao Pagoda graveyard, then rushed into the underworld from the graveyard and directly into the body of the Elephant Suppression Divine Prison. Lin Ling had the heavenly Dao returning to heaven and had memories. If it were a demon, they would not be able to do all this. At the same time, on the side of the chessboard, Lin Ling finally moved. His palms slowly stretched out and landed on a chess piece. The eyes of the young man opposite him flashed, and the corners of his mouth revealed an imperceptible smile. After Lin Ling's chess piece fell, the smile on his face became even wider. Sure enough, when Lin Ling's chess piece fell, the chessboard that he originally had the upper hand suddenly changed. It was the universe that changed the chessboard. Everything was as Lin Ling had guessed. The old man from before had died in such a situation. After spending countless years, he finally knew that he could not fight against the universe, so he sacrificed his life. Hee. Do you think you're the only one with a universe? Lin Ling sneered, and his consciousness called out to his doppelgangers to control the Lin Ling universe. At the same time, the huge universe seemed to pass through countless universes and appeared in Lin Ling's soul in countless ways. This was also the first time Lin Ling had brought the universe with him, and it also appeared in other universes to fight against them. All along, Lin Ling had wanted to do this, but he did not expect that he would succeed in the underworld. Under the change of the Lin Ling universe, the chessboard quietly changed, and the previous situation was restored. What? The young man opposite him changed his expression. He knew very well that to change the chessboard, only the power of the universe could do so. However, the demons sealed in the universe could not have their own universe. Even if they did, how could they bring it into the underworld? You, Lin Ling. The young man suddenly raised his head and stared at Lin Ling. You lost. Lin Ling also raised his head and looked at the young man coldly. Why? You're really an anomaly. You have memories in the underworld, you can obtain Panga's body, and now you have a universe. Aren't you already dead? The young man stood up and moved his feet. The surrounding scene changed, turning into a white zone of dense mist. Destructive divine mammoth, you can only let me go now. Otherwise, the underworld will be uneasy. I know that the god of the underworld is very strong, but the underworld can't suppress me. Even if it can, the 18 levels of hell will be destroyed. When the underworld collapses, you can bear the responsibility. Lin Ling did not answer. Instead, he said calmly. The young man fell silent, as if thinking about something. After a long time he said calmly, even if I agree, the god of the underworld and the many gods of the underworld will not agree. Because, in the history of the underworld, only 2 people have left alive. I want to be the third person. Lin Ling said coldly. Chapter 50-57. I want to be the third person. The voice floated into the young man's ears, and his eyes flashed. He could hear that the voice was filled with determination, and even more so, it was filled with the madness of a volcano. Either he did not compromise, or he would wreak havoc in the underworld. He knew very well that if the underworld god or the powerful gods of the underworld were here, they would definitely refuse. After all, the underworld could not be humiliated, but the consequence would be chaos in the underworld. This was different from his mission to protect the underworld. Okay, I agree. The young man finally looked up and looked deeply at Lin Ling. Go to the Sea of Misery, there is a way out of the underworld. The Sea of Misery? Lin Ling frowned slightly. What if you lie to me? Ha ha ha, Lin Ling, you underestimate me. The young man laughed proudly. As the Mount of Xitigaba Bodhisattva, why would I lie to you, a mere Lin Ling? Lin Ling, I know you are the host of the world's will, but your tribulation is not in the underworld, but in the ancient god realm. There is no comma between you and me. If you want to leave, I will not stop you. Okay. Lin Ling nodded. After all, it would probably take a long time for him to find a way out. By then, the powerful gods of the underworld would have arrived, and a great battle would be inevitable. Now, he had found most of the people he was looking for, and the rest had been reincarnated. There was no need for him to stay here. Only one person was left in another hell, and this person was young Lin, who was once a powerhouse in Lei Gong's hall, the strongest powerhouse under Lei Gong. You are the first person to leave my universe alive, and it is also because of this that you are the third person to leave the underworld. The young man said to Lin Ling again. Then, a huge suction force was born, and the surrounding white clouds rolled and turned into a vortex, sweeping Lin Ling away. Lin Ling did not resist and let the suction force take him away. At this moment, the fierce battle was still going on in the outside world. Countless underworld beasts were fighting against the two super-powerful gods, and on the ground, the corpses of the underworld beasts were piled up like mountains. There's no end to these underworld beasts. Guang Chengzi activated the heaven-flipping seal and continuously smashed the nether beasts. These are underworld beasts formed from the underworld great laws. Indeed, they can't be killed unless we can go against the entire underworld great cosmos. The green-robed Taoist said calmly. His immortal slaying flying saber was even more powerful. But no matter how powerful he was, he still couldn't kill them all. If this continues, I'm afraid Lin Ling will be in danger. Master Guangqing frowned and looked deeply at the green-robed Taoist. The green-robed Taoist smiled. Everything is destined. Hearing this, Guang Chengzi's eyes lit up. Could it be that this mysterious green-robed Taoist knew something? He quickly asked, How do you know Lin Ling will be fine? How would I know? I just feel that if Lin Ling is sealed in the underworld, then the two of us will be free. The green-robed Taoist shook his head. F***CKU. Master Guangqing couldn't help but curse. In the distance, An Yuer, the Yellow Emperor, and Lei Gong were floating there. None of them had left, but they were looking ahead with grave expressions. The battle there was very intense. A mammoth as large as the universe stood there, giving them a tremendous pressure as if it was a brilliant heavenly might. Will Lin Ling be fine? This question floated in everyone's mind. It doesn't matter if he's fine or not. If he fails, we'll accompany him on his journey. When we died last time we were separated. If we die this time, we should be able to die together. Xianxia said with a smile. He was more than willing to die with His Excellency. Xianxia, what nonsense are you talking about? The others smiled bitterly. They were about to die, but Xianxia was still smiling so happily. Rumble. At this moment, hell shook, and ripples spread across the sky. The mammoth moved, and then it suddenly exhaled. Billowing smoke shot out from its long nose and lingered in the surroundings, making the mammoth even more so mysterious. A man's figure stood in the smoke. It was Lin Ling. The law of the underworld is much more powerful than the destructive divine mammoth. After Lin Ling appeared, he immediately sensed the omnipresent law of the underworld. In the past, he could roughly sense it, but now that he had the universe, this feeling was even stronger. His Lin Ling universe was thousands of times weaker than the underworld. Lin Ling, this elephant tusk is for you. It can lead you to the sea of bitterness. The mammoth said. The huge elephant tusk broke off on its own and floated to Lin Ling. It then shrank until it was as thick as a finger and fell into Lin Ling's palm. I hope you remember your promise and leave immediately. Because if I fail, the underworld god will definitely come. When that time comes, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. The mammoth said again. Then, with a flick of its trunk, it left with the countless underworld beasts. Thick clouds and mist filled the air. A large number of underworld beasts seemed to have turned into dark shadows. They walked further and further away and gradually disappeared into the distance. Heaven and earth quieted down again. Under the ground, the corpses of the underworld beasts disappeared. Everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Everyone stood there in a daze, not understanding what was going on. Lin Ling. At this time, Guang Chengzi looked at Lin Ling in shock. The green-robed Taoist smiled and said nothing. He turned into a stream of light and disappeared into Lin Ling's body. I reached an agreement with him. As long as I don't cause trouble in the underworld, he will let me leave. Lin Ling explained to Guang Chengzi. Guang Chengzi trembled in disbelief. Lin Ling could actually fight against the mammoth? He knew very well that the mammoth's strength in the underworld was not much weaker than his. It might even be slightly stronger. Of course, in the outside world, Guang Chengzi was naturally more powerful. Well, there's no time to lose. The underworld god is coming. Let's leave this place. Then, Lin Ling looked at everyone and said, "We can leave? Where are we going?" Lin Ling, are we leaving the underworld? Oh my god! The Yellow Emperor and the others were shocked. They stared at Lin Ling, as if they were afraid that Lin Ling was joking with them. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. Seeing this, everyone was excited. Although they were dead souls, and even if they had obtained a physical body, it was still the body of a deity of the underworld. However, they still had their memories. With time they could recover their original strength. The premise was that they had to leave the underworld. Let's go. Lin Ling saw that everyone was excited. His mood gradually changed. After so many years, the killing intent and coldness on his body had finally begun to fade. Of course, although they could leave, the underworld would definitely lock onto them. They had to leave immediately. Lin Ling held the elephant tusk in his hand and found that it could point in the direction automatically. It was like a compass. The tip of the elephant tusk pointed in the direction of the Sea of Misery. Lin Ling immediately led everyone forward. The Sea of Misery was not originally from the underworld. It was set up by Xianxia Bodhisattva after he came to the underworld. Chapter 50-58. After a long time, the fog in front of them was hazy. However, when the tusks approached, the fog dispersed, revealing a path. Without the tusks, this place would still be hell. Only with the tusks in hand would such a wonderful scene appear. What a powerful method. Everyone, speed up. Don't lose them. Lin Ling was secretly shocked, then shouted behind him. Lin Ling, what about the souls that escaped before? The Yellow Emperor suddenly asked Lin Ling. Lin Ling immediately frowned when he heard that. He shook his head and said, I'm afraid it's too late. Those souls are in the various hells. It will definitely take a very long time to find them all. By then, the underworld god will have already arrived. Even if we are now, we might not be able to shake him off. But they fought side by side with us. The Yellow Emperor's face was a little gloomy. The souls that were following them now were from the Dao Pagoda. However, the souls that Lin Ling saved in the underworld had left the group. Alas, we can't help them. We can only say that this is karma. Lei Gong suddenly said. In fact, it's not that they didn't have a chance to follow us. When we encountered the divine mammoth, if they had chosen to fight to the death with us, they could have left with us now. Unfortunately, they chose to escape. Run. Perhaps, this is their final destination. Hearing this, the Yellow Emperor sighed. Although he felt some sympathy, he also felt that it was true. Lin Ling had given them their memories and a chance to leave the Nether Realm. Unfortunately, they had missed this chance. Although the underworld will be reshuffled, some souls will definitely be able to escape. As for the souls that died, this is their fate. Let's go. Lin Ling also said this, and then ignored him. The group continued to walk along the road. Before long, a vast sea appeared in front of them. This sea was no different from an ordinary sea, but it was very calm. It was so quiet that not a single sound could be heard. Miraculously, they didn't feel any pressure by the sea. Instead, they felt incomparably clear and peaceful. Is this the Sea of Misery? How magical! Yeah, normally, in a quiet place without any sound, anyone would feel agitated. However, there's no such feeling here. Xianxia Bodhisattva is indeed a powerful person. The Yellow Emperor and the others sighed. Lin Ling, how do we cross the sea? As the saying goes, the Sea of Misery has no bounds. Turn back and the shore is. Without a boat, we can't even find the shore. An Yuer said to Lin Ling. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and suddenly looked at the elephant tusk in his hand. He immediately threw the elephant tusk forward. When the elephant tusk fell into the sea, it transformed into a huge elephant tusk boat. The boat was pure white and both ends were tilted up. It was very beautiful. A boat. Seeing this, everyone was overjoyed. Calm. and Yuer noticed that Lin Ling didn't seem to want to leave. There's one more person we haven't found. It's young Lin. Lin Ling said. The Thunder God sighed. Apparently, he had already known this. Yes. He is not in this level of hell. Lin Ling nodded. I'll go find him. I know which level of hell he's in. As long as I destroy the hell prison there and devour the life and death stone, I'll be able to find him. I'll come back then. But what if you can't make it? Everyone frowned. Moreover, the underworld god might have already made his move. If you encounter the underworld god, you won't be able to escape. They were extremely touched. Lin Ling gave up the chance to escape for his friend and let them escape first. It's okay. I'll definitely have a way. Everyone, go ahead. If you don't leave, I'll be worried. Lin Ling said with a smile. Let's go. We'll wait for Lin Ling to come back. At this time, Lei Gong hardened his heart and persuaded everyone. After all, it would be more convenient for Lin Ling to go alone. If they all followed him and encountered the underworld god, they would be a burden to Lin Ling. Hearing Lei Gong's words, everyone nodded. Lin Ling left the Lin Ling universe and a wisp of soul power on the ivory boat in case he couldn't find the way in. At the same time, he knocked out a fragment of the ivory boat and left. Everyone looked at Lin Ling's back and was extremely nervous. They hoped that Lin Ling could make it back in time. After Lin Ling left the edge of the Sea of Bitterness, he immediately looked for the way to the next level of hell. A moment later, he violently opened it and went straight into hell. When Lin Ling entered the new hell, the entire upper echelons of the underworld were in chaos. Countless ancient races of the underworld were discussing how to suppress Lin Ling. The underworld kings and kings of hell were the same. It seems like we have to mobilize the underworld god. In the end, they came to a conclusion. Although they didn't want to inform the underworld god, Lin Ling was too strong. His growth was too fast. They couldn't suppress him. Most importantly, not only was Lin Ling strong, but he was also constantly destroying hell. The longer this dragged on, the more dangerous the underworld would be. Underworld god, Lin Ling has escaped. He's now stirring up hell. After reaching an agreement, everyone knelt down and burned incense as they spoke to the sky. The sky quietly turned black. It was so black that it was terrifying. All light was sucked into it. It was silent. Lin Ling. A deep voice suddenly drifted out, and then the sky became pitch black again, as if it was investigating something. After knowing that the underworld and hell were in chaos, the voice finally drifted out. When did he become so strong? I want to meet him. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lin Ling destroyed the hell prison alone and took away a large amount of nether ores. Then, he ignored the many dead souls and hurried to find the young Qilin. He was extremely fast. After 2 hours, he finally found the young Qilin. He didn't have time to explain anything and took it away by force. Halfway through, Lin Ling injected the young Qilin's memory into his soul. At the same time, Lin Ling looked up at the sky. He vaguely felt that something was staring at him. The underworld god has awakened. Speed up. Lin Ling held the young Qilin in one hand and the ivory fragment in the other. Gradually, he found the Misery Sea. The Misery Sea was located between the various hells. Therefore, Lin Ling didn't need to return to the previous area. He could find it here, saving a lot of time. In the Misery Sea, the ivory ship was long gone. However, after entering, Lin Ling immediately sensed his Lin Ling universe and soul power. Over there. He unleashed his full strength and flew for 6 hours. Finally, he saw the ivory ship in front of him. Moreover, a boundless continent appeared not far away. The coast of the Misery Sea. In fact, if Lin Ling didn't put down the Lin Ling universe on the ivory ship, he would definitely be lost in the Misery Sea alone. Chapter 50-59. When the underworld god appeared, the entire Sea of Misery shook, as if the master of the underworld had arrived. An oppressive aura filled the air. The Yellow Emperor and the others on the ivory ship sensed it, and their expressions turned serious. If Lin Ling had not warned them that the god of the underworld might catch up with them, they would have been completely frightened out of their wits. Yellow Emperor, what should we do? Let's go help Master Lin Ling. Yes, Master Lin Ling is no match for the underworld god. Everyone looked at the Yellow Emperor, their voices filled with anxiety. Don't worry about it, everyone. If we leave the ivory ship, we will definitely get lost in the sea of misery, and it will only distract Lin Ling. Let Lin Ling face the underworld god alone. He will definitely have a way. The Yellow Emperor was indeed the ancient emperor. He only needed to think for a while to come to a decision. What we need to do now is to go ashore immediately. Lin Ling will rush over. He looked back and saw that Lin Ling had stopped walking, so he immediately said, "Let's go." Everyone looked forward and saw that the shore was getting closer and closer. They did not know what would happen after they reached the shore, but they could only fight. Qilin, go find the Yellow Emperor and the others. Lin Ling let go of Qilin above the sea of misery. Then, he used a wisp of soul power on the ivory ship to cover Qilin so that it would not get lost. Yes, my lord. Qilin had recovered its memory and had always admired Lin Ling. Therefore, it did not hesitate and immediately floated toward the ivory ship. Yellow Emperor, well done. Lin Ling also turned around to take a look. Seeing that the group did not impulsively disembark but instead headed towards the coast, he finally relaxed. Lin Ling did not know what would happen after they reached the shore of the Sea of Misery. However, he had a feeling that once they reached the shore, they would be out of the control of the underworld. They would be in the universe that belonged to Xianxia Bodhisattva. Perhaps the only one in the entire underworld who could fight against the underworld god was Xianxia Bodhisattva. Then, he retracted his thoughts and looked at the underworld god without moving. The god of the underworld's target was him, which was even better. At least the Yellow Emperor and the others could leave safely. What powerful strength! As he continued to investigate, Lin Ling was secretly shocked. He knew that the underworld god was one of the 9 stars of the universe, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he discovered that the underworld god's strength was definitely at the forefront of the 9 stars of the universe. Back on the first floor of the Dao Pagoda, he once met a Dao child from one of the 9 universal stars. This person once said that among the 9 universal stars, there were a few people who were so powerful that they were heaven-defying. Moreover, even they had never seen them before. He wondered if it was the god of the underworld. Moreover, the netherworld realm actually had 2 stars of the 9 great universes, the god of the underworld and the young master of the underworld. He wondered if these 2 people were related. Time passed quietly, but the god of the underworld still did not move, which surprised Lin Ling. However, after thinking about it, he guessed that the god of the underworld was definitely investigating him. Secondly, the god of the underworld believed that it would be easy for him to kill him, so he did not move. This was also an opportunity for Lin Ling. Xianxia Bodhisattva, he is actually helping you. After an unknown period of time, the god of the underworld finally spoke. To everyone's surprise, the voice was actually a woman's voice, which meant that the god of the underworld was a woman. What is the relationship between the 2 of you, or have you reached some kind of agreement? The god of the underworld asked again. This was probably the reason why she had not made a move. She seemed to be worried about something. In the netherworld realm, the only person who could make the god of the underworld worried was undoubtedly Xianxia Bodhisattva. There is no agreement, Lin Ling said calmly, but deep down, he was extremely nervous. He knew that he had reached the end of his journey to the netherworld realm. The god of the underworld in front of him was the last tribulation. If he could overcome this tribulation, Lin Ling would return to the Dao Pagoda and make a comeback. The god of the underworld, one of the 9 stars of the universe. At this time, Lin Ling said again. Hearing this, the god of the underworld remained motionless, but Lin Ling noticed that her mood had changed. She seemed to be surprised that Lin Ling knew her origin. Did Xianxia Bodhisattva tell you? The nether god slowly removed her cloak, and the hood of the luxurious robe was removed to reveal the face of a woman. Strangely, this woman's appearance was very ordinary. She couldn't be considered beautiful, but she couldn't be described as ugly either. She was just like a mortal. Of course, with her ability to control death, even if she looked ordinary, she was still stunning in the eyes of the gods. Is it important who told you? Lin Ling said calmly. Lin Ling, the host body of the will of the world, and he is an extremely powerful existence among the remaining hosts of the will of the world. He is only inferior to the 3 divine sects of White Mountain and the final host body of the will of the world. The god of the underworld said calmly. She had an aura of dominance. I didn't expect the god of the underworld to be called Jianghu. Lin Ling said again. His words made the god of the underworld's expression change again. Two vortexes appeared in her eyes as she stared at Lin Ling calmly. Then, she said coldly, "You went to the Xitagaba Palace and found the fortress. That's how you know my origin. What surprised me the most was that you actually obtained Panga's body. What surprised me the most was that you actually survived his attack." As she spoke, the god of the underworld stared at Lin Ling with even more seriousness. That was because she had also gone to the Xitagaba Palace but failed. The red-haired man who was sealed in the Xitagaba Palace was so powerful that even she had to be wary of him. "I was just lucky," Lin Ling replied. He sensed that the god of the underworld's aura had changed. She was getting restless. It seemed that she was about to attack. Obviously, the god of the underworld was also tempted by the Panga's body. If she killed him, she would be able to obtain the Panga's body. Sure enough, just as Lin Ling thought about it, a huge reincarnation appeared. It circled above the sea of sufferings and sucked toward Lin Ling. The strength of the force was something that Lin Ling had never seen before. With the Panga's body, he couldn't resist it. That was because it was formed by the universal laws of the entire underworld. At this critical moment, Lin Ling looked back and saw that the ivory boat had touched the shore. The Yellow Emperor and the others were coming ashore one after another. "Universe, return!" Lin Ling roared and unleashed all his strength. His physical strength and soul power formed three powerful forces: Lin Ling's universe, and charged forward. Rumble! The soul power and physical strength collided with the terrifying suction force. They only resisted it for a moment. On the other hand, Lin Ling's universe seemed to have formed a huge shield in front of Lin Ling to resist the universal laws of the underworld. "Universe!" At this moment, the god of the underworld exclaimed. She had been investigating Lin Ling and was familiar with everything about Lin Ling. However, she didn't see the power of the universe. Firstly, Lin Ling's power of the universe was on the ivory boat. Secondly, Lin Ling's universe was activated in the destructive divine mammoth's body. It was beyond the prying eyes of the underworld. With the two added together, the god of the underworld naturally missed it. Chapter 50-60. At the same time, in Lin Ling's universe, the earth and void seemed to be on the verge of collapsing, and the entire universe rumbled. Everyone in Lei Gong's hall, including the people of the entire universe, was shocked. They felt a pressure coming at them, making it difficult for them to breathe. "Come back!" However, at this moment, a loud roar came from the entire universe, and then the pressure gradually disappeared. It seemed that they had avoided the powerful attack. On the ivory ship, Lin Ling used the Lin Ling's universe as a shield to reach the shore. His body was surrounded by doppelgangers, and they were activating the great laws to control the Lin Ling's universe. Trying to escape? Seeing this, Underworld God's expression changed. She moved and appeared on the shore. The spear in her hand slashed down. That power was terrifying. "Fellow cultivator, you go first." All the doppelgangers shouted at Lin Ling, activating the great laws to resist. Lin Ling took advantage of this short time to rush to the shore and run away with everyone. However, after running for only a dozen meters, all 9,000 doppelgangers were shattered, and a broken universe floated toward Lin Ling and disappeared into Lin Ling's body. It was the Lin Ling's universe. Of course, although the 9,000 doppelgangers were dead, they had bought precious time for Lin Ling. This was because Underworld God did not attack again. Instead, she floated above the sea of bitterness and looked coldly at Lin Ling and the others. Cold sweat broke out on Lin Ling's forehead, and then he let out a sigh. This scene had shown that Underworld God could do nothing to the shore. Perhaps the shore was really formed by Xitigarbha Bodhisattva's universe, and it was beyond the control of the underworld. "Lin Ling, I will find you." Underworld God stared at Lin Ling for a long time and finally said, "Go to the Tao Pagoda and the Chaotic Realm. You may not be Underworld God anymore." However, Lin Ling replied calmly. The Netherworld was the Underworld God's territory, and no other god would be her match here. However, in the outside world, there were quite a few people who were as powerful as the Underworld God. If Lin Ling's power also increased, he would also have the chance to not fear the Underworld God. "Take care of yourself." The god of the underworld left behind these words before disappearing without a trace. Everyone was frozen in place, as if they had just survived a calamity. In the end, they all let out a long sigh of relief. "Ha ha ha, we're alive. Not dead, I'm not dead. Wah ha ha ha." Everyone hugged each other happily. They were extremely excited. The underworld was the tomb of the gods. If any god died here, everything would be under the control of the underworld. However, in the history of the underworld, there were very few gods who could return alive. It had to be said that this was a huge miracle. He returned alive. Lin Ling was also muttering to himself, his entire body trembling with excitement. After going through all kinds of hardships, he could finally go back. If it was when he just arrived at the netherworld, he wouldn't have dared to imagine such an outcome at all. Lin Ling, congratulations. At the same time, Guang Chengxi's voice sounded in Lin Ling's heart. Lin Ling, you've survived a great calamity. Another voice also sounded. It was the mysterious green-robed Taoist. Thank you. Lin Ling knew that he could survive because of the help of Guang Chengxi and the other person. Not to mention other things, Lin Ling's memory was the most important thing. Without his memory, Lin Ling was still a slave of the underworld. He could only endure the pain of reincarnation forever. Ha ha ha, although we helped you, most of the time it was you who made the decisions. So we only gave you a chance, and you're the one who seized it. Guang Chengxi's voice was also filled with excitement. He was happy for Lin Ling. Lin Ling nodded. His eyes looked forward and suddenly became cold. He thought of the crazy man in the Dao Tower and Yin Wanguang, who wanted to kill him forever. Yin Wanguang, I, Lin Ling, am back. Lin Ling said in a low voice. His words made everyone's excitement disappear, and their faces became cold. Yellow Emperor, Emperor Shun, Emperor Xuanxiu, Emperor Jun, and all of them showed strong killing intent. They still remembered the scene of them being slaughtered that day. Now the universe couldn't destroy them, so it was time for Yin Wanguang to die. Let's go back. Lin Ling sensed the Lin Ling universe and then led everyone into the Lin Ling universe. If they were in the netherworld, it would be difficult for Lin Ling to bring people into the Lin Ling universe. However, after coming to the coast, the feeling was immediately different. The feeling of returning to the heavenly realm was stronger, and so was the Lin Ling universe. Returning to the Lin Ling universe again, this was no longer an ideology. The Lin Ling universe is greatly affected. The strength of the underworld deity is indeed terrifying. After returning to the familiar void, Lin Ling immediately noticed the damage to the Lin Ling universe. If the previous attack of the underworld deity came a few more times, his Lin Ling universe would probably collapse. Come out, my fellow cultivators. Then Lin Ling shouted in a low voice. Now he had a physical body. Although he didn't have the 9 dantians, he could still use divine powers. Moreover, this was the Lin Ling universe. Lin Ling could do anything. Behind Lin Ling, his doppelgangers appeared again. They then looked at Lin Ling with a smile and said, Fellow cultivator, thank you. I should thank you. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have been able to escape from the underworld deity's pursuit. Lin Ling said to all his doppelgangers. Although these doppelgangers were killed by the underworld deity, as long as Lin Ling didn't die, the doppelgangers could still be used at any time. Now that the universe is unstable, I'll have to trouble you, my fellow cultivators. Lin Ling said to the doppelgangers again. Then he led everyone away. The doppelgangers smiled and nodded. After cupping their hands at Lin Ling, they disappeared on the spot and activated the Great Law again, constantly stabilizing and restoring the universe. We're back, we're back. And Yuer, Shen Yuan Guer, Lei Gong, and the others flew ahead. Looking at the familiar universe, they were all excited. This was their hometown. Haha, I'm back. Sakura, young Master Yao, and the others were so happy that they danced. With their family and friends here, they were naturally happy. As for the Yellow Emperor and the others, it was their first time here, so they weren't very excited. However, they were very happy. Moreover, they sensed that they could cultivate here. They were all looking forward to it and couldn't wait to recover their strength. Don't worry, in this universe, I can help you reconstruct your bodies. Lin Ling looked at the Yellow Emperor and the others and said, Moreover, this time, I brought back a large amount of nether ores. It's enough for everyone to cultivate. Everyone has their memories, so you'll definitely be able to quickly recover your strength. Then, I'll enter the Dao Pagoda and find the Dao for you. Return to the celestial plane. This way you can return. Lin Ling, we'll have to trouble you. The Yellow Emperor and the others cupped their hands at Lin Ling. Lin Ling had brought them back from the underworld. This great kindness was unforgettable. Of course, Lin Ling himself didn't dare to take this kindness to heart. This was because he knew very well that the Yellow Emperor and the others had died because of him. They didn't blame him, which already moved Lin Ling. At this time, the Yellow Emperor and the others' eyes turned cold. Lin Ling, if you want revenge, you must wait until we enter the Dao Pagoda. Because we want to see Yin Wangguang die with our own eyes. Chapter 5061. In the following days, Lin Ling quietly waited for the universe to recover. At the same time, he searched everywhere in the universe for rare treasures to reconstruct everyone's bodies. These bodies were top-notch in the Lin Ling universe, but after leaving Lin Ling's universe, their power would be greatly reduced. However, the advantage was that they could still cultivate in the Dao Tower in the Primal Chaos realm. This was equivalent to laying a solid foundation. If they wanted to recover their strength, the next step would be up to the Yellow Emperor and the others. After that, Lin Ling also left a large number of nether ores for the Yellow Emperor and the others. On this day, Lin Ling stood in the void, looking into the distance. Now he had two things to do. First, he had to find Yu and the others. Second, he had to find his former body. Yu and the others have been reincarnated. It's not difficult to find them in any universe, but it will take a lot of time. First, I'll find my body, restore my strength, and take revenge. Lin Ling finally made up his mind and informed the Yellow Emperor and the others. After a long time, everyone arrived. There were more than 100,000 people. These people had followed Lin Ling in the Dao Tower. There were gods of the 5 emperors and gods of Lei Gong's hall. This huge force was also the foundation for Lin Ling to fight against the gods of the Primal Chaos realm in the future. I'm going back to the Dao Tower. After I've prepared everything, I'll inform you when the time comes. Lin Ling looked at everyone and said. Hearing this, the Yellow Emperor and the others were inexplicably excited. They had dreamed of the day of revenge. Only after returning alive did they realize the beauty of life, and even more so, how important the blood feud of the past was. Go. Everyone nodded at Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled and took a step forward. Using the Dao regression heavenly position, he left the Lin Ling universe. Everyone, restore your strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, after we enter the Dao Tower, it will be difficult for us to keep up with Lin Ling's pace. After Lin Ling disappeared, the Yellow Emperor looked at everyone and said. They had only entered the 3rd level of the Dao Pagoda, but they were already in danger of being completely wiped out. What about the 4th or 5th level? The rotten race was also eyeing them covetously. If they didn't become stronger, they might be annihilated again. Saint-level giant universe god Lei Gong, treasure god Nan Wu Fengyu, and first-grade saint returning realm experts were all saints. The same went for Emperor Shun and Great Emperor Jun. Currently, in their camp, only the Yellow Emperor had stepped into the ranks of saints. Lin Ling left behind so many treasures for us. At the very least, we don't lack cultivation resources. Good luck. After talking for a while, everyone left, disappearing into every corner of the universe. As for Lin Ling, he borrowed the Dao returning to the heaven seat to return to the 3rd floor of the Dao Pagoda. This time, he didn't enter with his consciousness, but with his body. When he reappeared, he was already in what used to be a graveyard. Countless lonely graves sat on the ground, and an air of loneliness pervaded the air. Some tombstones still had burning paper money in front of them, while others had already turned into ashes. These were the gods who had died on the 3rd floor of the Dao Pagoda. Looking at this scene, Lin Ling sighed in his heart. A person's death was like an extinguished lamp. So what if one was a god? After death, they were still a pile of yellow soil. Even if one's soul power was strong, after entering the underworld, one's life would be controlled by others and could not escape the universe's reincarnation. If it weren't for the help of that old man, I wouldn't have been able to come back. Lin Ling walked down the hill and looked at the small house beside the graveyard. He found that the house was dilapidated, and no one had lived in it for many years. Shaking his head, Lin Ling walked to the huge snow maple tree, knelt down, and kowtowed 3 times to this ancient tree. Thank you for your help, Senior. In the future, if you need this junior's help, this junior will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. After looking up, Lin Ling said solemnly. Without this snow maple tree's reminder, Lin Ling wouldn't have been able to come back, and he probably wouldn't have been able to unlock the underworld imprint. Then, Lin Ling found his Dao regression celestial imprint under the snow maple tree and brought it with him. And in the Tao regression celestial imprint, the treasures stored in the past were still there. In addition, Lin Ling now had the nether ore, which was enough for his strength to greatly increase. Unfortunately, the tyrannical song sword was gone, and so was the Quafu sun chasing boots. This was what Lin Ling wanted to find when he returned. Yin Wan Guang, I'm coming. Looking into the distance, a large cloak appeared on Lin Ling's body, and then he walked alone into the distance. Now, he didn't know how long he had been away from the city of myriad gods, so he had to find out. The city of myriad gods had not changed much since Lin Ling left. Lin Ling thought as he walked. He wanted to find his body, find the lost treasures, and break through the barrier to step into the strength of the giant god of the universe. Before that, those who had harmed him in the past, he had to find them one by one and take revenge. And as Lin Ling walked along the city of myriad gods, in the faraway five-spirit city, an old man sat on the tallest building in the city, and his brows suddenly furrowed. Master, what's wrong? A man behind him saw this and hurriedly asked. I don't know why, but I feel uneasy, as if some catastrophe is about to befall. The old man looked into the distance, his brows tightly knitted. He had no idea what was going on, only that his heart was shrouded by dark clouds. Master, why don't you do a divination? The man immediately said. The old man nodded, and an ancient five-colored sacred tree appeared in his hand. Then he kept chanting and finally, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The five-colored sacred tree in his hand grew rapidly, turning into a towering ancient tree, shocking the entire city. Everyone looked up, only to see an old man standing on the tallest building, holding a huge ancient tree in his hand. The prophet is divining again. Everyone was discussing. The five-spirit prophet had a powerful prediction ability, and could predict the fate of the universe. He could predict what would happen thousands of years later, and was extremely powerful. He was also known as the wisdom god of myriad gods. At this moment, the five-colored sacred tree dropped a fruit, which was then caught by the five-spirit prophet's other hand. The old man carefully looked at the fruit in his hand, and his eyes kept flashing with 5 colors. The man behind him stood quietly, knowing that his master was already divining. But at this moment, the old man spat out a mouthful of blood, and the fruit in his hand shattered, turning into powder. The huge ancient tree in the sky also dissipated like an illusion. Master, what's wrong? Seeing this, the man's expression changed greatly. The old man ignored him and looked deeply into the distance, muttering to himself in disbelief, "The devil has returned from hell." His whole body trembled, trembling extremely violently. Obviously, he was afraid. Master. The man suddenly became anxious. He had not seen his master lose his composure in many years. Usually, when this happened, it meant that something big had happened. Could it be that another war of the gods is about to break out? Master, should we leave this place? The man kept asking. The old man was still looking into the distance, and he revealed a bitter smile. We can't escape, we can't escape. Sai, this is the cycle of karma. The seeds that were planted back then will be reaped today. Chapter 5062. On the other side, Lin Ling was moving forward alone. At the same time, he sensed a strange power surging toward him. Get lost! Lin Ling sensed that this was the power of the universe. With a shout, Lin Ling resisted the power of the universe and tore it apart. That's really powerful. Someone probably knows that I'm back. Lin Ling's eyes flashed, but he didn't care too much. He had returned from the underworld, experienced life and death, and witnessed countless powerful gods. He didn't care about the gods on the 3rd level of the Tao Tower. Now, what he was most afraid of was that the people in the holy city of the ocean would escape after hearing the news. Back then, Yin Wan Guang had killed Lin Ling's family and friends to avenge his son. Now, Lin Ling could also kill all the gods in the holy city of the ocean for revenge. There was no right or wrong in this matter. There was only who was stronger and who was tougher. Tyrannical singing sword. Suddenly, Lin Ling's eyes narrowed as he sensed the aura of tyrannical singing sword in front of him. Before he went for revenge, he had to take back everything from back then, especially the 8 dantians. In this way, he would have the strength to completely suppress Yin Wan Guang. After that, Lin Ling flew forward. There was a market with people from all walks of life, and it was extremely chaotic. In the city of myriad gods, because of the high cost of entering the city, Not everyone could enter the city, and this formed a small market like this. Lin Ling walked casually in the market, asked for information, and then walked toward a small courtyard. In the small courtyard, more than 10 gods stood there, all of whom were king-level giant universe gods, and they were constantly exchanging information. Pah! At this time, dozens of nether ores were thrown on the ground, shocking everyone. They looked up and found that a cloaked man had appeared here without them knowing. Most importantly, this cloaked man only had the strength of a peak-high god. Such strength was undoubtedly extremely rare in the city of myriad gods. These are... Could it be precious nether ores? Yes, nether ores. Nether ores. Only the gods of the underworld have them. Could it be that he's from the underworld? Everyone raised their heads to look at the mysterious man. Their eyes flickered with greed. The person who came was Lin Ling. The reason why he came here was because he noticed that tyrannical singing sword was in the small courtyard, and he wanted to know what was going on in the ocean holy city through these people. Let me ask you, how is the holy city of the ocean now? Are there any changes? Lin Ling's cold voice floated out. The gods were all silent. The main reason was that Lin Ling's cultivation level was too low, which made them want to monopolize the nether ores. Sir, why are you acting so sneakily? Can't you show your true face? An old man smiled faintly and walked towards Lin Ling. He seemed to be speaking politely, but in reality, he wanted to harm Lin Ling. Lin Ling could casually throw out a large amount of nether ores, so he probably had even more on him. He reached out his hand to Lin Ling, wanting to uncover Lin Ling's head, but surprisingly, Lin Ling didn't move. It was as if he had no power to resist. At this moment, the gods sneered. So what if he was from the underworld? His cultivation level was too low. It was not enough. Bang! But at this moment, Lin Ling finally moved. He raised his arm and grabbed the old man. Then, he exerted a little force. Brain matter and blood spurted out, and a king-level universe god's head exploded. The terrifying thing was that the universe god was also resisting, urging a powerful godly power, but Lin Ling's palm seemed to be able to ignore any godly power. It went past him and exploded his head. Senior, what do you want to ask? At this moment, all the gods' expressions changed drastically, and they all bowed in respect. The old man from before was very strong, but he couldn't block this mysterious man's move. This showed that this person's strength was terrifying. How is the holy city of the ocean? Lin Ling asked indifferently. The holy city of the ocean? Everyone looked at each other, not understanding why Lin Ling asked this question. One of them hurriedly said, "The holy city of the ocean hasn't changed much. The Silver Moon clan is still the overlord." How long has it been since the holy city of the ocean mobilized the entire clan to fight? Lin Ling asked again. Senior, are you talking about that great battle? 891 years have passed since then. That battle once alarmed the entire city of myriad gods. Who would have thought that in order to kill a minor god, the Silver Moon clan would mobilize their entire clan, even calling for help from several cities? And I heard that hundreds of thousands of people died in that battle. The enemy was completely annihilated. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. Unknowingly, more than 800 years had passed. Do you know where the battle took place? Lin Ling asked again. Everyone shook their heads. It had been so long. How could they remember? These nether ores are yours. Seeing that they didn't know, Lin Ling didn't bother to ask further. More importantly, he wanted to return to the battle site to see if he could find a trace of flesh. Hee, this old man knows, but I don't know how much nether ores this sir can take out. But at this time, a one-armed old man in black clothes laughed. Lin Ling looked at him coldly. He knew in his heart that the tyrannical song sword was in this person's possession. This person was probably lucky enough to obtain the tyrannical song sword at the battle site. Naturally, he knew the location of the battle. I'll give you as much as you want, Lin Ling said coldly. Hearing this, the one-armed old man's eyes lit up. I don't need a lot, 3,000 is enough. Then he laughed. Sir, you found the right person. That place has changed a long time ago. In the vicinity, no one is allowed to go near. Only a powerful god stands guard there, preventing anyone from approaching. This god has been there for more than 800 years. I heard that that powerhouse has guarded many treasures for so many years. A large number of gods have tried to get their hands on those treasures, but they were all repelled by this powerhouse. However, that powerhouse hasn't recovered and is probably very weak now. If you want to get your hands on those treasures, it's very suitable for you to go now. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed slightly. Someone was guarding there? Who was it? He thought of all the people he knew, but he couldn't find the answer. After all, his family and friends had all died with him in that battle. Okay, lead the way. Without thinking too much, Lin Ling said to the one-armed old man. Hee hee. The old man immediately laughed and strode out of the small courtyard. After the two of them left, the gods in the small courtyard began to tidy up the nether ores on the ground and whispered, Sound Sword Elder is really greedy. He actually wants to take it all for himself. What do you mean take it all for himself? Didn't Sound Sword Elder say that he only wants 3,000 pieces of nether ores? Idiot. Didn't you see Sound Sword Elder ask that person how many nether ores he has? And that person replied that he would give as much as he wanted. That's exposing the treasures on him. I see. After a round of conversation, many people were well aware of the situation. In the distance, Lin Ling followed the one-armed old man silently. His expression was calm and unmoved. This place should be about done. There's no one here. After a long time, Lin Ling stopped in his tracks and said coldly. Sound Sword Elder trembled and stopped in his tracks. He looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. Sir, what do you mean? Aren't you going to the ruins of the great battle? I'll know everything after I kill you. Chapter 5063. Kill me? What do you mean by that? The one-armed elder frowned and asked coldly. Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. He didn't want to waste his breath. Did the one-armed elder really think that this was Lin Ling's first time out in the world? When the one-armed elder asked him how many treasures he had, Lin Ling had already sensed it. The only reason he didn't expose him was because he wanted to find a secluded place to get rid of the one-armed elder. Bang! Lin Ling punched out. It was a simple punch. The one-armed elder sneered. A sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed down. Terrifying divine energy turned into a world of swords and surged out. Pop! 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 However, in the face of Lin Ling's punch, all the sword lights were shattered. When Lin Ling's punch arrived, the one-armed elder's sword shattered. What? The one-armed elder's expression changed drastically. As he retreated, a large sword appeared in his hand. Very well. You forced me to use this sword. You can die with honor. Dominating singing sword. Lin Ling stared at the large sword calmly. His eyes were filled with nostalgia. It was his sword. The sword that had fought with him for countless years. The sword that had gone through life and death with him. Return. Lin Ling growled, causing the sword in the one-armed old man's hand to jump wildly, revealing a hint of excitement. Killing sword, what's wrong with you? The one-armed elder's expression changed drastically. Ever since he had obtained the sword, he had sensed a dense killing intent from it. It was a precious sword that was hard to come by. However, the sword now revealed other emotions. It was excitement. Moreover, he felt that he couldn't hold the sword steadily. It was as if it would slip out of his control at any moment. What was going on? I picked this sword up from the ground during the Great War all those years ago. Over the years, I've used this sword to kill many gods. It's my trump card. Why did it end up like this today? Right, I found this sword in the ruins of the Great War. The owner of the sword is the man who was killed by the Silver Moon clan. I think his name is Lin Ling something. It's Lin Ling. The one-armed old man's expression suddenly changed as he stared at the white-haired man in shock. Whoosh! At that moment, the white-haired man stretched out his hand as though he was welcoming a friend of many years. The one-armed elder could no longer control the sword in his hand as it flew towards the white-haired man. The tip of the sword was aimed straight at the white-haired man. If the white-haired man was struck, not only would he be injured, he might even die. However, when the sword was less than a meter away from the white-haired man, the sword suddenly retracted its tip. Instead, it danced happily around the white-haired man. I miss you too, the white-haired man said calmly, as if he was responding to the sword. This scene confirmed everything, causing the one-armed old man to tremble. You are that Lin Ling who was killed by the Silver Moon race. Didn't you die? I've come back from hell. Lin Ling extended his palm, and the tyrant Song's sword floated down on its own. Hell has returned? The single-armed elder's face was pale, and he began to tremble. Could it be that this person came back alive from hell? In this vast universe, how could there be such a terrifying thing? Don't kill me. If you kill me, there won't be anyone to bring you to the battle ruins. The one-armed old man had already lost his will to fight, but Lin Ling shook his head. After devouring your soul, are you afraid that I won't be able to find the battle ruins? Boom! Lin Ling punched out, shattering the one-armed old man's body. His soul was also caught by Lin Ling and devoured. Then, Lin Ling flew off in a certain direction. After devouring the one-armed old man's soul, Lin Ling gained some understanding of the city of myriad gods. As for the battle ruins, as time passed, they had changed. In the past, when Lin Ling went into the fog, there was a demon-like forest nearby. Although it was destroyed, after 800 years, it gradually grew again. In addition, there was a powerful god guarding the forest, causing very few people to go near that area, unless they came with a purpose. To Lin Ling's surprise, there was indeed a powerful god guarding the battle ruins. After so many years, he had chased away wave after wave of powerful enemies. Who is it? However, the one-armed old man did not know who that god was, so Lin Ling was not too sure. Now, after going to the battle ruins, everything would be clear. Lin Ling's speed was very fast. Not long after, a pitch-black forest appeared in front of him, and memories flooded his mind. In the past, it was in this forest that he blocked the pursuit of Yin Wanguang's son, but Yin Wanguang was relentless in his pursuit, and in the end, karma happened. Now that he was revisiting this place, Lin Ling could not help but sigh with emotion. Of course, compared to the past, the current Lin Ling had completely transformed. Not to mention the 8 Dantians returning, Lin Ling was confident that he could fight Yin Wanguang with his powerful physique. In addition, his soul power was several times stronger than before, which was even more incomparable to the past. Lin Ling entered the forest, and a large number of vines appeared in the forest again, rushing toward Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling's physique was strong, and with a step, all the vines were broken. He ran forward like this, and not long after, an open space appeared in front of him. What was surprising was that this open space was blood red, and the ground was full of withered bones, as if it was a place forgotten by the gods. In the distance, fog rolled, revealing a mysterious feeling. This was the place of the great battle. At that time the Yellow Emperor and hundreds of thousands of people died here, dyeing the ground red, and it was still like this today. In the red ground, a god sat cross-legged, surrounded by 4 gods wearing large cloaks. A fishy smell wafted over at the same time. It was the rotten race. Sun God race, I didn't expect that in order to protect this place, you didn't move a step for 800 years, fought countless battles, and never recovered. If you hadn't risked your life to protect this place, we might not have been able to do anything to you. Now, your luck has come to an end. Your corpse is very suitable to be placed in the rotten race's pool. A few rotten race gods said coldly. The rotten race had always liked to plunder and assassinate gods, and the sun god race was very strong and united. Generally speaking, it was difficult for them to obtain the corpses of the sun god race. This time, it was clearly an accident. On the ground, the sitting god's expression did not change. His eyes were slightly closed, and his expression was full of fatigue. It's her. Lin Ling stood at the edge of the forest, shocked. This was because the god guarding this place was the 12-winged sun god. The 12-winged sun god and Lin Ling had only met a few times. Back then, Lin Ling had betrayed the sun god race and deceived the 12-winged sun god's feelings, but after that, he had saved the 12-winged sun god's life. He did not expect that this life-saving grace would cause the 12-winged sun god to guard their corpses for so many years. She even did not hesitate to die to protect them. Looks like I owe her a favor. Lin Ling secretly sighed and walked out. Chapter 50-64. They all frowned as they discovered that this man was only a peak higher deity. However, this man had white hair and gave off a very cold feeling. Even though they were powerful, they still felt a chilling killing intent that penetrated their hearts. Very strong. They instantly had a guess. They looked at each other and planned to work together to kill the white-haired man. However, just as they moved, the white-haired man's brows twitched, and a powerful soul power surged over. Universe 3 Extreme Destruction. Several rotten gods cried out in alarm as they sensed that their souls were about to collapse. It was not difficult for such a powerful soul power to instantly kill them. "Sir, we are from the rotten race." One of the strongest decaying deities reported his background, hoping to intimidate the other party. He was also a god with a strong soul power, so he used his soul power to send back a voice. Lin Ling, the white-haired man, only replied with one voice, causing the rotten race god's soul to tremble. Lin Ling. It was actually Lin Ling. Of course, they knew who Lin Ling was. Back then, he had killed their rotten race gods Jr. in front of the real rotten race god. Moreover, he was the master of this battle site. Wasn't he dead? With disbelief, the souls of the rotten race collapsed. At this moment, the 12-winged young god did not know that the rotten race god was dead. She was already prepared to die. However, she felt a little regretful. She had been guarding this place for 800 years, but in the end, she had not been able to protect these corpses. However, at this moment, she noticed a strand of refreshing feeling come over. After she opened her eyes, she suddenly saw a white-haired man had taken out numerous treasures and placed them by her side to help her recover her exhausted divine energy and vitality. One had to know that she had not left this place for so many years, and all the treasures on her had been used up. Now that these treasures had appeared, it was no different from water in the desert. "It's you." Soon, the 12-winged young god recognized the person. Her body trembled in disbelief. "Sorry to have kept you waiting. From this moment on, you don't have to guard this place." The man in front of him was very cold. His hair was white, but he smiled. This smile warmed the 12-winged young god's heart, and then he became inexplicably excited. As expected, Lin Ling had returned. After Lin Ling's death, she had always thought that Lin Ling would come back. Even if the sun god race tried to persuade her, it was impossible. Even she knew that no one had ever returned from the underworld. But she still firmly believed that Lin Ling would come back. Perhaps, she was also thinking of repaying Lin Ling for saving her life, as well as the guilt of misunderstanding Lin Ling. However, she never expected that this man would really return. He had returned from the underworld. He had created a miracle. If she hadn't sensed that Lin Ling could breathe and had a body of flesh and blood, she would have thought that she was dreaming. "Rest well." Lin Ling was still smiling. After he finished speaking, he looked at the blood-colored land, and his expression gradually became excited. He had found all the corpses. There were the Yellow Emperor's, Lei Gong's, and his own. These were all divine blood and divine bones, and they were also rare treasures. The 12-winged young god looked at Lin Ling's back, and the corners of her mouth curled into a smile. At this moment, her entire body finally relaxed, and she even felt tired and sleepy. Next, she entered a deep sleep. Although sleeping in such a place was incomparably dangerous, she believed that with that man around, no one would be able to touch her. "All of you return." At this moment, Lin Ling waved his hand, and the earth shook. The corpses buried underground and dried blood all floated out, turning into a vortex that flew towards Lin Ling. Lin Ling waved his right hand, and a black hole appeared. It was Lin Ling's universe. The corpses rushed into Lin Ling's universe and disappeared. At the same time, in Lin Ling's universe, the Yellow Emperor and the others were originally cultivating. Then, their eyes lit up as they sensed that their flesh and blood had appeared. "Good, that's great. With this flesh and blood, we can find and recover our strength from back then." It seems that Lin Ling has found the remains of the battle back then. Moreover, Lin Ling must have found his own flesh and blood. In this way, he will definitely break through. Everyone was extremely happy. On the blood-colored land, Lin Ling closed his eyes and sensed his flesh and blood. Then he smiled and said, "Return." Under his shout, a large number of bones full of scars floated over, and a lot of sand and yellow soil with bloodstains also floated over. They poured into Lin Ling's body and gradually disappeared. In these bones and blood, Lin Ling sensed the aura and spiritual chi of back then. "Come out." Then, Lin Ling took out a large number of nether ores and treasures to continuously restore his strength and combine the two bodies. Rumble. Lin Ling's dantian, one by one, began to appear. It was like a desert, crazily absorbing the power of the nether ores and constantly recovering. The bits and pieces of the past, the flesh and blood of the past, everything of the past, gradually recovered. After an unknown period of time, 8 dantians appeared in Lin Ling's dantian, and the divine embryos returned. 8 dantians. This was Lin Ling's foundation. Lin Ling had always felt that the 9 dantians cultivated by the Chaos Divine formula would be stronger than Pangu's true body in the future. Come back, all of you. As Lin Ling continued to shout, the power of faith, soul, and body completely merged into one. Breakthrough. Sensing the terrifying divine origin in his dantian, Lin Ling shouted again. Endless nether ores revolved around Lin Ling, and all the treasures accumulated by the celestial realm appeared, turning into a whirlpool and disappearing into Lin Ling's body. Lin Ling gradually disappeared, and only a huge whirlpool appeared on the ground. It was like a great universe, emitting a soul-crushing pressure. He's about to break through. The 12-winged young god sensed the terrifying power, and she was shocked, then fell into a deep sleep again. Rumble. The whole forest was shaking, and the demon-like vines were trembling. In the sky, the clouds also formed a terrifying whirlpool. In the distant world, passers-by looked in the direction of the forest, feeling a sense of trepidation. Could it be a saint-level universe god breaking through? Look at this huge power, it must be the saint level. After one dan of breakthrough, it'll be the god level that people dream of. Teseske, god level, this has never appeared in the city of myriad gods. They discussed animatedly, both envious and fearful, and then walked far away. Rumble. At this time, a huge whirlpool appeared in the clouds, like an eye staring at the ground, and then a terrifying bolt of lightning was brewing. Around this bolt of lightning, gods were singing, and countless great universes were rotating. The universe god's tribulation. That terrifying pressure made the 12-winged young god open her eyes again, because she found it difficult to breathe. Chapter 50-65. The sound of singing spread throughout the world. The gods were singing. Divine light shrouded the huge thunderbolt, as if to wash away all the darkness in the world. The pressure was so great that it suppressed the earth. The wind swept away the clouds, and the whole forest was trembling. Soon after, the earth began to tremble. Countless trees and vines floated up like young straws, spinning along with the enormous aura. This divine tribulation is really terrifying. The 12-winged young god watched the changes in the sky with a solemn expression. She came from an ancient race of the universe and was considered knowledgeable, but this was the first time she had seen such a divine tribulation. She could clearly see that when the gods in the sky were singing, there was a powerful divine pressure pressing down on the earth with every sentence. It was as if giants were slapping the earth with their palms. Under this divine pressure, not only was the forest crushed, but the earth was also covered in dust. In a short period of time, the nearby area had been turned into ruins. Lin Ling, you can't stop it. Hurry up and leave. The power of this divine tribulation is possessed by a giant universe god at the saint level. Hurry up and leave. The 12-winged young god kept shouting. She almost wanted to run away as far as she could, because she had a feeling that even a giant universe god wouldn't dare to take on this tribulation easily. However, on the ground, the white-haired man looked at the sky with a calm expression. He was unmoved, and his aura was rippling. He wants to pass the tribulation. He has returned from the underworld. He must want to take revenge, and the only way to do so is to become a giant universe god. However, how is he going to survive this tribulation? Seeing that the man was unmoved, the 12-winged young god gradually guessed Lin Ling's intention. But how could this be possible? Boom! At this time, a roar came from the sky, and it was continuous. The sound was terrifying and deafening, as if it was going to destroy the world. Puh! The 12-winged young god couldn't withstand it at all. He spat out mouthfuls of blood like a drowning person. Looking into the distance, countless gods were watching. When the roar came, everyone felt their eardrums hurt, and their faces gradually turned pale. Even though they were so far away, they could still feel the terrifying pressure. If they were under the ground in front of them, they would probably be crushed to pieces. Boom! Boom! 13 consecutive explosions rang out. At this moment, the empty land floated into the air and gradually turned into fine powder. Amidst the pressure of the billowing storm, a bolt of lightning finally descended. It wasn't fast, but it had locked onto the past and present lives of the gods, making it impossible for them to escape. He's here. At the same time, Lin Ling raised his head to look at the sky. His eyes were filled with unyielding madness and indifference. Now, his strength was not much weaker than Yin Wangguang's. However, it would be difficult for him to completely destroy Ocean's sacred city. Lin Ling had secretly vowed that if he returned from the underworld, he would wash the holy city of the sea with blood, not letting a single person go. Back then, Yin Wan Guang had killed all of his friends and family in order to kill him. Lin Ling would dare to do the same. When it came to insanity, he would never lose to anyone. It was just that very few people could drive him crazy. Since he was going crazy, he had to pass the divine tribulation. Bang! Lin Ling stomped on the ground and charged into the sky. He's crazy. The 12-winged young god didn't expect Lin Ling to choose to face it head-on. After all, she had always wanted Lin Ling to escape and avoid the divine tribulation. At this moment, Lin Ling charged straight into the sky. He could feel a destructive power descending from the sky. This power was very strange. It wasn't the power of a god, but more like the power of the universe. This was definitely the law of the universe of the Tao realm. Come on! Lin Ling roared. Panga's real body appeared, and Panga's attack was pushed to the peak. He turned into a giant in mid-air. His long hair danced wildly, his clothes were all torn, and his solid muscles were full of complex runes. He punched the sky, and the fierce physical strength carried Panga's aura to resist the divine tribulation of the Song of the Gods. Such an action was tantamount to courting death. When his huge figure soared into the sky, everyone clearly saw it. They all opened their mouths wide, thinking the same thing as the 12-winged young god. This person was crazy. No one had ever dared to face a divine tribulation head-on. Most people waited for the divine tribulation to fall and then faced it head-on. And this person seemed to want to destroy the divine tribulation. Rumble! The huge fist was like a universe, smashing into the huge divine tribulation. However, at the moment of collision, something happened that made countless people widen their eyes. That fist actually caused the huge divine tribulation to freeze. The 12-winged young god's hand immediately covered her mouth. She knew that Lin Ling had the strength of a superior god, and this divine tribulation was that of a king-level universe god. However, its power was terrifying, comparable to that of a saint level. A superior god against a saint-level universe god's divine tribulation. And it wasn't a passive defense, but an active attack. What was even more terrifying was that the fist actually caused the divine tribulation to freeze. At this moment, Lin Ling didn't slow down and punched out again. Boom! This time, the huge divine tribulation was blasted backward, and cracks appeared on the lightning. The gods in the sky became somewhat illusory. Boom! With the third punch, the divine tribulation lightning flew backward toward the tribulation clouds in the sky. This punch was stronger than the previous two. The main thing was that Lin Ling had added the power of the Lin Ling universe into his powerful physical strength. And Lin Ling's physical body was powerful. Even if the endless divine tribulation lightning wreaked havoc on him, he was indifferent and unharmed. I returned from the netherworld, and even the netherworld couldn't restrain me. You want to restrain me with mere Tao realm laws? Break! Lin Ling punched out 3 more times in a row. The first punch caused the divine tribulation to tremble. Lin Ling's 9 dantians were tumbling, and 70 billion power of divinity appeared. Boom! The second punch caused the divine tribulation to shatter and dissipate. 100 billion power of divinity appeared in Lin Ling's dantian. When the third punch appeared, the clouds were scattered, and 200 billion power of divinity was born. Ka. The divine tribulation kept twitching and finally exploded. The powerful divine pressure from before disappeared, and the sky began to brighten. Everything returned to normal. Only the white-haired man floated in the sky. At this moment, he was like a divine tribulation. Countless gods looked at the scene in the distance, and they were silent for a long time. To be able to see such a miracle in their lives, they felt that their lives weren't in vain. What a domineering punch! The 12-winged young god's beautiful eyes trembled. She knew that Lin Ling had returned from the netherworld. He was no longer the Lin Ling of the past. At the same time, Lin Ling walked down from the sky. With every step, his footsteps became smaller, and he gradually returned to his former size. I've finally broken through. He nodded slightly, but he wasn't too surprised. Chapter 5066. Yin Wan Guang, I'm coming. Lin Ling looked into the distance and sneered. On the other side, Ocean Saint City. The city was still heavily guarded. Those who entered had to pay a lot of treasures before they could cultivate in the city. After all, this was the territory of the Silver Moon clan. After 800 years, the entire Silver Moon clan in Ocean Saint City had increased in strength. Especially Yin Wan Guang, his strength had improved significantly. It was said that his divine energy had increased greatly due to the resolution of the knot in his heart. Now that Yin Wan Guang's strength had increased, Ocean Saint City's prestige in the City of Myriad Gods had also increased. What's going on? Yin Wan Guang sat in the tallest building in the city and frowned slightly. During this period of time, his strength had improved and many of the city masters in the City of Myriad Gods had given him face and befriended him. This was something that he should be happy about. But for some reason, he had been feeling uneasy for the past few days. He looked up at the sky and could not figure it out. Men, get the 5 spirit prophets to see me. After thinking for a while, Yin Wan Guang gave the order. His majestic voice spread throughout the city. Immediately, someone went up to the tallest building and reported respectfully outside the door. City Master, the 5 spirit prophets have left. I don't think he can come. Left. Even if he left, get him to come. Tell him that I, Yin Wan Guang, said so. Yin Wan Guang frowned. Unless he doesn't want 5 Spirit City anymore. City Master, the 5 spirit prophets have abandoned 5 Spirit City and left. Outside the door, the voice came again. This time, Yin Wan Guang's expression changed. Every city in the City of Myriad Gods was extremely precious and had been obtained with countless efforts and manpower. No one had ever been so generous as to give up the City of Myriad Gods. Did something happen? Yin Wan Guang felt that the 5 spirit prophets' actions were too strange. My lord, the city masters have been waiting for a long time. At this time, the god at the door said respectfully, let them go. I'm not in a good mood today and have no time to see them. Yin Wan Guang shook his head and his words shocked the god outside the door. 3 months ago, Yin Wan Guang had sent out invitations to all the city masters to attend the banquet. Of course, although it was called a feast, Yin Wan Guang was actually establishing his position as the overlord. None of the city lords dared to object and came as promised. However, Yin Wan Guang suddenly changed his mind? Could it be that something big had happened? One had to know that the city lord had long wanted to establish his prestige in front of the other city lords. This was also his wish. Yes, city lord. The deity didn't dare to ask any more questions. He cupped his hands and left. Yin Wan Guang's eyes flashed. He waved his right hand and a seed appeared in his palm. It gradually sprouted and grew into a huge 5-colored divine tree. This is the seed that the 5 spirit prophets left for me. They once told me that if I encountered any problems, I could use divination to see the fate of the heavens. Yin Wan Guang said indifferently as he activated his divine power. Then, the 5-colored divine tree dropped a seed, and the seed started to have illusions. Red clouds appeared all over the sky, illuminating the entire hall. The light even shone through the windows, causing many people to see it. What happened? Yin Wan Guang's expression changed drastically. Although he didn't have the accurate divination ability of the 5 spirit prophets, he could still tell what the red cloud represented. Bloodlight disaster. Most importantly, Yin Wan Guang knew that this bloodlight disaster was very, very big. Is it accurate? Yin Wan Guang frowned. At this moment, he was starting to have doubts. After all, with his strength and status, how could there be a bloodlight disaster in the City of Myriad Gods? However, he had been restless for the past few days, which seemed to prove something. I, Yin Wan Guang, have understood the universe since the creation of the world. I've seen all kinds of storms. How can a mere bloodlight disaster affect my heart? Yin Wan Guang snorted coldly. On the other side, the city lords were furious when they heard Yin Wan Guang's order. Did he think they were monkeys? However, when they thought of Yin Wan Guang and the Silver Moon clan's strength, they suppressed their anger. Then, they politely said goodbye to the deities of the Ocean Saint City and left. City Lord, Yin Wan Guang doesn't take us seriously. As the group left the holy city of the ocean, a god frowned and complained in a very displeased tone. Beside him was an elder in a green robe, but he didn't say a word. We helped Yin Wan Guang back then and deceived the Yellow Emperor and the others, but after that, he didn't reward us at all. Instead, he treated us like dogs. The deity said again. Su Hong. At this moment, the green-robed elder who had been silent all this time looked over coldly. Forefather. The deity's expression changed immediately. Su Hong, how many times have I told you? Don't talk about Lin Ling and the Yellow Emperor in front of me. The green-robed elder said coldly. Back then, if it weren't for my own selfishness, I wouldn't have harmed the Yellow Emperor and the others. The Yellow Emperor treated me as a friend, but I betrayed him. Forefather. The deity frowned and said, It's been so many years, Forefather. Can't you let it go? If you hadn't handed over the Yellow Emperor and the others back then, you would have been the one to die. Every man for himself. Moreover, who is that Lin Ling? He's just a small deity. Is he worth the Forefather's protection? Humph, even if he's still alive, he's probably just a small deity. Su Hong. The green-robed elder shouted angrily. If you dare say that name again, I'll kill you. Forefather, calm down, calm down. I won't say it again. The deity hurriedly shook his head and begged for mercy. The green-robed elder glared at the deity and left with large strides. His eyes were looking into the distance. It had been 800 years. Every time he thought of that incident, he couldn't sleep at night. He felt that he had done something wrong. He had let the Yellow Emperor down. He felt that Lin Ling had died in front of him and that he would get his retribution. Sigh. The green-robed elder sighed. Even if he had been brooding, if history were to repeat itself, he would still choose to help Yin Wan Guang. After all, Lin Ling couldn't be compared to Yin Wan Guang. Yin Wan Guang had the strength to kill him, but Lin Ling didn't. As the two of them walked, a figure suddenly walked in front of them. This person was wearing a large cloak and was very mysterious. He walked past the green-robed elder and the others. Suddenly, the green-robed elder's body trembled as he felt an indescribable killing intent. However, he didn't say anything in the end and walked past the mysterious person. After the mysterious person disappeared, the green-robed elder muttered to himself, Who is this person? Why does he give me a familiar feeling? What he didn't see was that the mysterious person had already arrived at the shore of the sea and was looking at the huge holy city. It's been 800 years. Yin Wan Guang, I've said that if I return, I'll exterminate your entire clan. Your clan isn't limited to the city of myriad gods. Therefore, the only thing I can do is to exterminate the entire Silver Moon clan. Chapter 5067. Looking at the magnificent city in the middle of the sea coldly, Lin Ling recalled the scene when he first entered the holy city of the sea. At that time, the holy city of the sea suppressed Lin Ling's Kuafu sun-chasing boots. In order to find this divine weapon, Lin Ling saw the kidnapping of immortal duo Bao. That was why Yin Wentian kept chasing after him. It's a pity that immortal duo Bao has been reincarnated. Otherwise, he could have witnessed this revenge. Lin Ling murmured to himself. When he looked at the holy city of the sea again, his eyes were cold. Destroying the Ocean Saint City wasn't as simple as just killing their way through. After all, once the news was leaked, even if Yin Wan Guang was dead, the Silver Moon clan would scatter and run for their lives. Moreover, Lin Ling knew that there was a powerful god ancestor in the Silver Moon clan. If those people ran to the god ancestor, it would be difficult for Lin Ling to kill them all. In the past, Yin Wan Guang killed Lei Gong and others in front of Lin Ling. Therefore, Lin Ling had to pay him back. What did it mean to kill all the people of the Silver Moon clan that Lin Ling could see? This was the end. Of course, if he wanted to do that, he had to be ruthless enough. However, since Lin Ling saw his family and friends being killed, his heart had been ruthless. For him, his family and friends were his reverse scale. As long as someone dared to touch this reverse scale, he dared to go against the whole universe. Lin Ling's soul power spread out and gradually covered the entire holy city of the sea. Everything in the city was clear to Lin Ling at a glance. Now, Lin Ling's soul power was several times stronger than before. Yin Wan Guang is also here, and he is in seclusion. He came at the right time. Lin Ling sensed a strong momentum and guessed that it was Yin Wan Guang. Moreover, Yin Wan Guang seemed to be in seclusion, which gave Lin Ling enough time. Seal! Lin Ling shrouded the holy city of the sea with his powerful soul power and sealed everything. From this moment on, everyone could only enter and leave, because they were blocked by the 3 ultimate breaks of the universe, which sealed their souls. There are still a lot of people of the Silver Moon clan in the city of myriad gods. Bring them all back. Don't leave anyone behind. Lin Ling looked into the distance. When he was searching the holy city of the sea, he learned the whereabouts of the other members of the Silver Moon clan from the Silver Moon clan. Furthermore, he found a very senior elder and forcefully searched his soul. This allowed him to know more about the features of the scattered Silver Moon clansmen. There are 221 people of the Silver Moon clan. Lin Ling took a step forward, and disappeared, disappeared. Some of the people of the city of the holy city of the sea of the universe, of the sea, they was found that they was blocked. Most importantly, the power that was blocking them was very strange. It didn't block their physical bodies, but their souls. Killed sea was to kill. Of the Lin of the gods of the sea at the city gates, voices of dissatisfaction rose and fell. However, the experts guarding the gates did not know what was going on, which made those who wanted to leave the city even more uneasy. After all, the holy city of the sea had always been domineering. Although they had paid the entrance fee, the holy city of the sea was interested in more treasures. It was not impossible for them to kill and rob the treasures. In fact, this kind of thing happened all the time, but the number of people was very small. It was not like today, when everyone was trapped in the city. We will report this to the Silver Moon clan, and let the experts investigate. The experts of the Silver Moon clan quickly left to report. In the Silver Moon clan's base camp, the bloodline of the Silver Moon clan was also discussing. An elder frowned and followed the crowd. Not long ago, he had been attacked by a powerful force, but when he woke up, he found that nothing had happened. This made him feel very strange. He did not know that it was Lin Ling who had attacked him, and Lin Ling was searching his soul. At this moment, Lin Ling was flying into the distance. His speed was so fast that it created waves of sound waves in the sky. Speaking of which, this was the first time Lin Ling had ventured into the city of myriad gods without fear. When he first arrived, he was killed before he could go far. However, with Lin Ling's current strength, it was not difficult for him to run rampant. A total of 221 people. Some of them are gathered together, so it's easy to find them. Some of them are scattered, so it's a little troublesome. But 3 days is enough. Lin Ling's speed was very fast. Not long after, he met 2 people from the Silver Moon clan. The aura of the Silver Moon clan was different. Those who were strong could clearly sense it. Moreover, these 2 people had not entered the city, but were in a small town. In the city of myriad gods, there was no lack of such small towns for the gods to rest in. "Cousin, I'm here." At this moment in the small town, a cold-looking man walked quickly. Silverstone was extremely excited. Even though he looked indifferent on the surface, his heart was burning with passion. Because his cousin, Xianxia, had always been waiting for him in Luxia town, and it was even to the extent that they would meet here every single month. After all, they were related by blood. In the Ocean Saint City, they did not dare to act recklessly. "Get out of my way!" He was burning with impatience. He scolded those who did not know their place along the way. Those people were naturally dissatisfied, but when they saw the symbol of the Silver Moon clan on his chest, they all fell silent. They had long heard of the Silver Moon clan's tyranny. According to legend, 800 years ago, someone attacked the Silver Moon clan. In the end, the entire clan was killed. The commotion at that time shocked the city of myriad gods. Not long after, Silverstone finally arrived at a small courtyard. He gently pushed open the door and saw a lithe body. It was his cousin. His lower abdomen was suddenly burning. Silverstone could not help but lick his lips. Although it was not the first time he had done it, every time he saw his cousin's body, he would feel the urge. As soon as he stepped in, a figure came to the small town. After sensing, he immediately walked toward the small courtyard. After a while, the door of the small courtyard was kicked open and Lin Ling entered. Since he had decided to take revenge, he would not be sneaky. There was no need to be sneaky. "People of the Silver Moon clan, I, Lin Ling, am here." After entering the small courtyard, Lin Ling was the first to sternly shout. At the same time, 2 figures dashed out from the house in the small courtyard. Although their clothes were a little messy, their expressions were filled with anger. They were Xianxia and Shi. "Who are you?" Silverstone shouted angrily. He was very angry. He was about to pull out his spear but was suddenly interrupted. It would be strange if he was in a good mood. "You 2 must be from the Silver Moon clan. Come with me." Lin Ling locked onto the 2. Knowing that he had found his target, he did not waste any time and directly attacked. Bang! Bang! His big hand grabbed out. It was simple and direct. Silverstone's pupils constricted. Is this person crazy? At the critical moment, he also activated a powerful superpower. However, when it collided with the big hand, it was instantly crushed. Bang! 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 Chapter 5068. If you want to blame someone, blame Yin Guang. Lin Ling said coldly. With a wave of his hand, Yin Guang was brought into Lin Ling's universe. The reason why he did not kill Yin Guang was that Yin Guang had slaughtered everyone in front of him. Today, he would return the favor. Brother Zisher. Yin Ziying saw that her cousin had disappeared and immediately looked at Lin Ling. This matter has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. As long as you are a member of the Silver Moon clan, everything is related. Lin Ling looked at her coldly. Are you going to wait to be captured, or do you want me to do it? Who the hell are you? Seeing Lin Ling's strong killing intent, Yin Ziying knew that things were not going well. Lin Ling from 800 years ago. Lin Ling said coldly. With a wave of his hand, Yin Ziying was also brought into Lin Ling's universe. Then, Lin Ling disappeared and went to find other members of the Silver Moon clan. In the past, Yin Guang had found the Yellow Emperor and the others to force him out. Lin Ling had also patiently found all the members of the Silver Moon clan and brought them to the Great Ocean Saint City. In the past, Yin Guang had slaughtered Lin Ling's family and friends in front of him, which made Lin Ling suffer so much that his hair turned white. Now, Lin Ling was going to slaughter his clan members in front of Yin Guang and let him experience the pain of his heart being torn apart. Zhongyuan City, the city of myriad gods, was also known as the Ghost City. It was also famous on the third level of the Dao Tower. It was said that the city master of this city, the Zhongyuan ancestor, was transformed from He Shan. He had great strength and was very close to the Great Ocean Saint City, so no one dared to disrespect him. On this day, Zhongyuan City welcomed a large number of experts. Most importantly, they did not need to give any treasures to enter the city. This was because they were from the Great Ocean Saint City. Everyone knew that the Great Ocean Saint City was the home of the Silver Moon clan, so no one dared to provoke them. We are here to pay a visit to the Zhongyuan ancestor on the orders of the patriarch. An old man shouted as soon as he entered the city. His brows furrowed slightly. This Zhongyuan city was truly a ghost city. The entire city was pitch black without any lights. The streets and alleys were filled with ghosts and gods that cultivated nether chi. Ordinary gods would feel uncomfortable if they entered this place. This was especially true for the Silver Moon clan, the clan that represented the moon. That feeling was even stronger. Everyone coming to my Zhongyuan city is truly a blessing for my city. However, our Zhongyuan old ancestor has just entered seclusion. My apologies. My apologies. An old woman carrying a ghost lantern slowly walked over from afar. Just happened to be in seclusion? The old man said indifferently. After returning from the Holy Ocean City, the ancestor went into seclusion. The old woman's face was as pale as a corpse's as she smiled faintly. The old man didn't suspect anything when he heard this. After all, the city lords of the various cities had gathered not long ago, but their patriarchs hadn't met them and had asked them to leave on their own. We are here to deliver the Great Ocean Holy Stone. The last time the city lord gathered, the Zhongyuan patriarch left quickly, causing him to not take the Great Ocean Holy Stone with him. The old man then took out a large number of specialties of the Great Ocean Holy City and placed them on the ground. Thank you, everyone. The old woman immediately bowed to them. Rumble. At this moment, there was a rumble as the city gate was broken open. The only two lanterns hanging at the gate fell to the ground. At the same time, a figure flew over and landed in front of everyone's eyes. Someone is forcing their way in. Someone is forcing their way in. Behind them, a large number of gods in Zhongyuan City were also shouting. Who is it? The old woman and the others immediately stared at the newcomer and realized that it was a white-haired man. This person's aura was very strong and cold, as if he had come from the depths of hell. His eyes were also staring at everyone from the Silver Moon clan. A total of 79 people. That's a lot of people. The white-haired man said indifferently, This is a private matter between me and the Silver Moon clan. Anyone who dares to interfere will be killed without mercy. After speaking, he attacked the Silver Moon Clan's old man, his large hand grabbing at him. Stars and moon intertwining radiance. Seeing that the other party had suddenly attacked, the old man's expression changed. He unleashed all his divine energy, releasing a powerful divine energy. His divine energy had reached 2,000 divine energy. When the other gods of the Silver Moon Clan saw this, they also unleashed their divine energy, forming a sacred scene of the stars and moon intertwining radiance. In the sky, a bright moon appeared. Tens of millions of stars shone with starlight, and all of them were on that bright moon. The bright moon swayed, shooting out tens of millions of starlight-formed moonlight that enveloped the white-haired man's body. "Sir, don't you know that we are from the Silver Moon Clan? How dare you attack us? Do you want to die?" Seeing that the white-haired man was frozen in place, the Silver Moon Clan's old man said coldly, "Hee, why waste your breath on him? Leave this person's corpse to us in Jianghu City. We will definitely give you a satisfactory answer." The old woman stared coldly at the white-haired man. She was angry that this person dared to break the rules of Jianghu City. Then, she said to the Silver Moon Clan's people. However, just as she finished speaking, there was a loud boom. Countless cracks appeared around the white-haired man's body, which was covered in moonlight. Those were the cracks of the moonlight. At this moment, the white-haired man was like a demon, terrifying to the extreme. Everyone's expression changed. It should be known that when they joined forces, their divine energy was definitely in the 800 billion range. However, this white-haired man was not afraid. Could it be that the divine energy was invincible? Pang! After easily escaping, the white-haired man suddenly disappeared. Then, one of the Silver Moon Clan's people was kicked in the waist, followed by the next person. Gradually, more and more people appeared. Not good. Jianghu City, help me. The Silver Moon Clan's old man's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly shouted to the old woman. He could tell that this white-haired man was very strong. He reckoned that this white-haired man was an existence that could not be underestimated. As he shouted, more than 70 people from the Silver Moon Clan were severely injured and began to disappear. At the same time, a large number of gods who cultivated netherworld energy appeared in Jianghu City. After hearing the old woman's words, they all attacked the white-haired man. However, the white-haired man was not afraid at all. Relying on his fists and feet, he killed these gods. Netherworld energy seemed to have no effect on this white-haired man. It was as if this white-haired man had just returned from the netherworld. Only when the Silver Moon Clan's old man disappeared did the white-haired man leave. Looking around, other than the old woman, there was no one left. All the gods who came to help Jianghu City had been killed. So strong. The old woman trembled all over. She did not dare to stop the white-haired man. Only when the white-haired man had completely disappeared did the old woman dare to report to the Jianghu ancestor. The Jianghu ancestor, who had been in seclusion, suddenly woke up. He then used his godly abilities to investigate the previous battle. His body trembled violently as he stared at the white-haired man in disbelief. "It's him? Impossible. Isn't he dead?" A bone-chilling coldness entered the Jianghu ancestor's heart. Chapter 5069. In less than a day, Lin Ling had captured more than 100 members of the Silver Moon Clan alive. There were still more than 100 left. Lin Ling sensed for a while and continued flying forward. He sensed that a large number of members of the Silver Moon Clan had gathered in one place. And that place was Tai Broken Star City. Tai Broken Star City was a powerful city of myriad gods because it was the gathering place of sword gods. Gods who were good at swords could enter the city for free, and vice versa. The entrance fee was incomparably expensive. And in this city, the Sword Dao universe could be improved rapidly, turning into godly energy and increasing the strength of the gods. After a while, Lin Ling floated above Tai Broken Star City. His soul force entered the city and locked onto the gods of the Silver Moon Clan. These gods were quite strong, and there were even Saint Giant Universe gods among them. Tai Broken Star City not only had a strong Sword Dao universe, but it also had powerful illusions. Early Saint Giant Universe gods? Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. With his current strength, early Saint Giant Universe gods were no match for him without relying on his fleshly body and soul force. His godly energy had reached 2,000 points. If he fused his innate talent, his godly energy could be doubled. This was 400 billion points, which surpassed the strength of an ordinary early Saint Giant Universe god. And this was without fusing his fleshly body. Otherwise, even middle Saint Giant Universe gods would be no match for him. Especially his fleshly body, which was incomparably strong. Illusion universe? What a joke. I faced many reincarnation illusions in the destructive divine mammoth, but they were all broken by me. How dare a mere city's illusion stop me? Lin Ling saw the strength of Tai Broken Star City and flew straight down. At this moment, dozens of gods with swords on their backs were walking slowly on the street. Leading them was a man with a square face and a cold expression. He had a slender figure, and there was a wind of nirvana around him. It was terrifying. He was the strongest leader of the Silver Moon clan, and he had the strength of a Saint Giant Universe god. Beside him, an old man was chatting with him with a smile. This old man also had the strength of a Saint Giant Universe god, and he was a Middle Universe god. He was very powerful. They kept talking. Suddenly, they felt a terrifying aura pressing down on them. Raising his head, he could only see a white-haired man walking down. His aura as cold as the wind. Today, I'm here for the Silver Moon clan. Unrelated people, scram. It was accompanied by a domineering voice. Yin Ting, are they looking for you? Tai Fragmented Star City smiled and turned to look at the indifferent man beside him. The man shook his head slightly. You're courting death. As soon as he finished speaking, he drew his sword and unleashed 300 billion strands of the power of divinity. The sword light soared into the sky. Not only was it filled with immense divine power, it was also filled with the domineering sharpness of the sword. Uncle Ting's sword is getting stronger and stronger. Seeing that terrifying sword strike, the Silver Moon clan's disciples immediately cheered. However, in the skies, the white-haired man also slashed down with his sword. Endless slaughter accompanied by an illusory realm came crashing down. With just one strike, Yin Ting's expression changed. The city master of Broken Star City narrowed his eyes as well. How terrifying! 400 billion units of godly power. And the killing intent in that sword was too thick. Clang! As soon as the two swords clashed, Yin Ting's sword broke, causing blood to flow out from the corner of his mouth. Who is this person? He's so strong. I guess he's one of the best among the saints. Yin Ting growled. I'll help you. Beside him, the city master also drew his sword. He put two fingers together and turned them into sword fingers, pointing at the sky. Behind him, countless swords shot out. The entire sky was filled with endless starlight. The Tai fire was burning. Those swords rushed out of the Tai fire and turned into flaming swords, shooting towards Lin Ling in a mighty manner. The city master has made his move. He hasn't used his sword for more than 3,000 years. Who is that white-haired man? He actually forced the city master to use his sword and fought both Yin Ting and the city master. In grand unity shattered Star City, many gods cried out in surprise. Break for me! In the skies, Lin Ling's expression didn't change. He punched out. That punch was like the universe, carrying the purest power that could split heaven and earth. Like a meteor crashing down, it blasted away all the Tai fire swords. The city master's pupils trembled. The strength of this person was beyond his imagination. Could it be the city master of the city of myriad gods? Moreover, he was puzzled. Even if it was the city master of the city of myriad gods, who would have the guts to face off against the two of them? Come out! The city master growled. Under his voice, the entire city shook. Dense mist poured out from all directions and then lingered in the sky, forming an incomparably large illusion. Protect the city. The entire city roared. Broken Star City had a powerful defensive power because there was a layer of primordial energy under the city. It could change colors and form the most terrifying illusion universe. No one could break through it. They've made their move. Haha. Primordial Tai Illusion City. That white-haired man is probably lost in the illusion. But who is this person? He's really strong. In every corner of the city, voices of relief floated out. The city master also let out a sigh of relief. Then he said solemnly, Yin Ting, do you know this person? He's strong. I'm afraid he's not weaker than your patriarch. I don't know him, but he gives me a sense of familiarity. It's like I've seen him somewhere before. Yin Ting narrowed his eyes. He was still shocked by the white-haired man's strength. He must report this to the patriarch and see if he was an enemy of the Silver Moon clan. After all, personally, he had never offended such a strong person. Sword of Faith. But at this moment, a voice came from the sky. Then, a white light flashed and the illusion in the sky was split into two. A figure with white hair fluttering in the wind walked out from within the crowd. The entire city was silent. Yin Ting and the city master's pupils trembled violently. They were so shocked that they couldn't speak. One must know that the illusion universe was formed from primordial energy. No one could break through it, unless it was a powerful god. And with such strength, no one in the city of myriad gods could stop him. No one spoke. They could only watch as the white-haired man walked down step by step. The Silver Moon clan members were all trembling. Silver Moon clan. In the white-haired man's eyes, there was only the Silver Moon clan. He ignored everyone else. His large hand grabbed out. A powerful suction force was born. Every time he grabbed someone, they disappeared. Even the powerful Yin Ting was no exception. He didn't even have the slightest resistance. Perhaps he knew that he couldn't resist at all. Just like that, dozens of people disappeared in front of the city master. The city master didn't dare to move. It was only when the white-haired man turned around and left that he gradually regained his breath. Terrifying.